Hello, my great big beautiful family of 9. Welcome back. This is Seventh Heaven Season 4. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Seventh Heaven, here's a quick little blurb. Seventh Heaven is about a Christian family with a dad who's a reverend. Dad's named Eric, mom is named Annie. Then we've got the kids, Matt, Mary, Ruthie, Simon, Lucy. That's not the right order. Matt, Mary, Lucy, Simon, Ruthie, David, Sam. 7 children. Their ages this season, Matt is 20 to 21, Mary is 17, Lucy is 16, Simon is 13, Ruthie is 8 or 9, and the twins are 1, somewhere in there, somewhere around 1. Season 4 of Seventh Heaven came out in 1999, and I know that I was 3 years old when this came out, but they were thinking of me, I'm pretty sure, because this is the first season they actually paid attention to continuity, almost like too much. They almost did too much continuity. That will make sense a little bit later. The show has also become progressively less preachy and more dramatic. Just so much drama. So this should be fun. Shauna, who was involved in a crazy love triangle with Matt at the end of last season, is actually a regular character this season. Like, she's written in, she's the real deal. She's a big deal. This is the first season where Matt has had one girlfriend. Well, we'll get to that, but one girlfriend the entire time for the most part. Unlike previous seasons where he had 20 different love interests that would disappear on a whim. Anyway, let's get into it. Season 4 of Seventh Heaven. Seventh Heaven. Episode 1 starts off with my favorite people and our dear old friends, Eric's parents, Colonel and Grandma Ruth. Apparently, they have been traveling the world for the last 6 months. Because of this, the Colonel specifically has become like really focused on humanitarian stuff and world issues. I guess it changed them, and they're supposedly better people now. And they show us this by having them react to the news about Julie being pregnant at the end of last season. After Annie gave birth to the twins, Julie, Eric's sister, started dating Hank, who was Annie's OBGYN, who helped deliver the twins. They started dating and then got pregnant and married all within the span of like a couple of months. Pretty fast. They moved pretty freaking fast. And it's apparent in this season that they got married too fast because their relationship is dramatic, childish, and toxic, to say the very least. Anyway, Julie is pretty freaking pregnant at this point, and she has yet to announce to her parents that she's pregnant and also that she's married.
The Colonel and Grandma Ruth don't know that she's married. I thought they didn't know that she was having a baby.
They don't know that either.
Everyone's scared that they're gonna freak out. Understandably, because Colonel and Ruth have a track record of being some of the worst parents to ever exist.
I'm mighty anxious to meet this new boyfriend of hers, see how she is at making choices when she's sober.
And yes, traveling the world has supposedly changed them into better people.
Your grandfather and I have been to a lot of countries, a lot of places, and we've seen that individual freedoms are being lost.
But still, Colonel is insistent that his daughter needs to break up with her boyfriend and move back in with him and Ruth so that she can tutor their adoptive son, George.
I'm hoping maybe Julie will dump this new boyfriend of hers and come back to New York to tutor George.
She's like for sure in her late 30s at least, and they're like trying to control her life still. Yeah, excellent changes. Good job, parents.
Individual freedoms are being lost.
The Camden family, our big, beautiful family of 9, they all obviously know about Julie getting married and being pregnant. They were there for all of that. They've collectively decided that they're not allowed to talk about this to their grandparents, but of course, all of the kids spill the information to the grandparents.
I couldn't help it.
Did you tell him everything?
Define everything.
I told George. I'm sure he told them by now.
Which ends up being kind of a good thing, because when Hank and Julie reveal the information that they are pregnant and married...
It's Hank. Dr. Hastings. Julie's
husband.
Colonel and Ruth are really chill about it.
You've never looked more beautiful. Congratulations. A marriage, a baby, I mean, this is the right stuff.
Like, of course. My daughter married a freaking doctor. Why would I be mad about that?
I have a feeling they were warned.
My parents have been abducted by aliens.
So I guess we're all good on that front. At the beginning of the episode, there's some very important things that are pointed out. Both George and Simon have new hairstyles.
Where are your manners? Your cap's still on. There are ladies present.
I love how Simon's just wearing a hat, which he never does. And his mom is so shocked that he got a haircut, as if he got a haircut without her knowing about it. How would he have done that?
Hey, kids.
We are reminded who George is in a very silly way.
You remember your uncle, my adopted brother George?
Yes. Yes, we all remember George the orphan.
I'm George, the orphan.
We all also remember when we found out that George wasn't actually an orphan because his dad was doing some super top secret government work out of the country or something, and then came back and was like, I need my son. And then they all decided that George was going to be with his dad again, and they were going to all move out east with the Colonel and Ruth and live together. And Julie was going to go with them, and she did an impromptu road trip across the country with George's dad, and there was going to be some kind of romance blossoming between them. But then George's dad disappeared, and we've never seen him since then. And now it's like kind of like George's dad really never existed at all. Yeah, I remember that. Wait, what did you guys do to George's dad? Also, I find it very silly that they're reintroducing George as if they haven't seen him, but like, didn't they see him when he came to the front door? Did he not show up until just now? And what the f is going on with his hair? What the f is this mop of a wig? Why did they do this? They actually do address the wig later when they're trying to show how Colonel and Ruth have become better people.
Then how come you're letting me wear my hair like this? I look stupid.
Yes, your wig does look stupid, George. Please don't do that again.
Everyone should have the freedom to look stupid, son. That's what America's all about.
C'est la vie. Travel has changed us, darling. They're trying to show this message that Colonel and Ruth have changed, but I hate the way they've done it. It's in such a like abusive, gaslighting kind of way.
You were dreading telling me about Julie. I don't understand that, son. When did I get to be the bad guy?
Why didn't you feel like you could tell me things? When did I become the bad guy? I don't know. When you were the bad guy?
The middle girl, what's her name?
Lucy.
You know, she talks more than Eric does. If I get cornered like that again, I am going to swallow a Rockeye anti-armor bomb and throw myself out a window.
There's a reason your kids don't want to tell you shit. It's your fault.
Oh, Eric, we're sorry if we ever gave you the impression that these little things would upset us.
We're sorry if we ever gave you the impression. Oh God, it's so, ugh. The gaslighting is nuts. There's also this little monologue the Colonel gives about how controlling men make the world better, which is insane.
Control is not necessarily a bad thing. The world would be nowhere if it weren't for men like us who try to control things.
Coming from someone who's dated a controlling man or two, no.
As the kids would say, we're control freaks.
Matt decides it's time for him to finally move into his own place, and he and John Hamilton decide to get an apartment together. They find the most horrible, terrible apartment.
This place is great!
They're very excited about it, but Matt now needs to get a job to help pay for this horrible apartment. Matt's sisters talk to Hank, telling him that Matt needs a job, and Hank finds a job for Matt that day.
I asked around, and it turns out the hospital cafeteria has an opening.
And tells him he's gonna be starting the next morning at 5 a.m.
Okay. 5 in the morning, I'll be there.
Ask for Dot.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What? Hey, Hank, I need a job. Great. Can you start 5 a.m. tomorrow? God, that's gonna be a horrible job.
Okay, I'll be there.
There's a very important plot point in this episode that will be talked about and carried through to the end of this season. It begins with Eric having really weird visions of himself talking to somebody in a hospital.
Don't worry, it's all gonna be fine.
We are also shown throughout this episode the amount of things that Eric has taken onto his plate, which I've talked about this before. The man puts way too much on his plate. He makes things his business that really shouldn't be his business. One, telling his parents about Julie's pregnancy. Not your job, bud. His best friend, who's Sergeant Michaels, a police officer, has him help out with like telling people about tragic events. So in this episode, he's told he needs to go help tell a family about somebody getting stabbed.
A police officer got stabbed in a drug bust, and he wants you to go with him to tell the wife before it gets in the news.
Why is that Eric's job now? Additionally, he offers to pick up Mrs. Hinkle's blood pressure medication for her.
And drop it off for you. No problem. Okay.
I don't think Eric's job is the problem. I think Eric is the problem. Eric really needs to learn what boundaries are, like big time. This is his biggest issue.
Not to mention 27 people in counseling speaking, of which I better get down to the church.
This all culminates to a point where right after Julie announces her pregnancy to Colonel and Ruth, Eric has a heart attack. Yeah.
I think I'm having a heart attack.
And when he's in the hospital, he realizes that he had all these visions of him in the hospital talking to himself.
Really? It's gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine.
Nice. Eric's stress levels and lack of boundaries and terrible relationship with his parents has led to him having a heart attack. Very fun, very wholesome and uplifting. Yes, we love this show. The episode ends with Eric in the hospital saying thanks to God.
Thank you very much for tomorrow.
Thank you for tomorrow. This episode was such a nothing burger. It was so low energy and just like nothing. It was just nothing, except I guess Eric had a freaking heart attack. That was something. Episode 2 entirely revolves around the fact that Eric had a heart attack. And Eric is experiencing what his children so lovingly call
Post-heart attack insanity.
Well, if you want to call it that.
post-heart attack insanity. Eric is just so grateful to be alive that he is a little bit delusional. Maybe delusional isn't the right word. He's just very, carefree.
Do you remember me? Wah, wah, wah. Do Lord, oh, do remember me? Wah, wah, wah.
Eric is seeing the world for the first time. He is like an actual toddler.
You know, electricity is an amazing technology.
Yes, it's amazing. What are you doing?
I'm sitting. Now I'm standing. Now I'm sitting again.
One night he lays down outside on their little patio table and is just singing at the top of his lungs. This causes their nosy church neighbor lady, Mrs. Beaker, to come over and start gossiping with Annie.
You know, I heard that there was some sort of disturbance last night.
To which Annie gets a little bit hoity-toity, like, I will not stoop to gossiping. I will not.
You know, Mrs. Beaker, I don't gossip, and I don't like gossip.
Mrs. Beaker, who, to be fair, is quite the town gossip, relays to Annie that she just wants to be her friend.
You know, Annie, sometimes people gossip because they're trying to make a friend.
And she just wants to help.
It's just that I don't have that much time to talk.
Of course not. There's probably laundry and ironing and cooking and all of my favorite things to do.
Annie invites Mrs. Beaker into the house, and she ends up helping a lot with things around the house while Eric is kind of out of commission at the moment, needing to rest from his traumatic experience. Something really funny that happens is that Mary needs help with her trigonometry. Eric normally helps Mary with math, but because they're trying to let Eric rest, Annie is the one who volunteers to help Mary with her math homework. This leads to probably one of my favorite moments in the entire season when Annie and Mary are crying over the math homework because they can't figure out how to do it.
I can't do trigonometry. Then what am I supposed to do? I don't know.
That killed me. That was really good. Luckily, Mrs. Beaker knows how to do trigonometry and she is able to help Mary in the end. Lucy is fighting her boy addiction with Grace.
What has made you feel the most confident and happy with who you are? Boys.
Big help. I could have told me that.
She has become fully aware of her problem. Well, I don't know if I'd even call it that. I mean, they say Lucy's like severely addicted to boys, but that was more like season 1, season 2 maybe. But honestly, Lucy's been pretty level-headed the last few seasons. She's one of the more like mature, level-headed people in the family. Lucy joins Habitat for Humanity in order to just do something good for the world and find fulfillment for herself, which I love that for her. Lucy's my favorite character, I think. She's becoming my favorite. As I alluded to earlier, Shauna is still in the picture. She and Matt are dating, very much in love. At least they say they are. Their relationship this season is a whole bunch of ups and downs, and I don't really know what to think about it. I didn't really love Shauna from the beginning, and I still don't really love Shauna that much. She's kind of, the worst. We'll get to that though. She's not the worst yet, but she's on the path of becoming the worst. Matt has been super busy with work and school and hasn't really been giving Shauna much attention. Because of this, John, Matt's roommate, starts befriending Shauna. They get all buddy-buddy, and then Matt starts getting super jealous.
John asked me to show him around campus.
Hey, you don't have to explain anything. This is great. Thanks.
His jealousy is a bit unfounded and irrational because he's been the one ignoring Shauna because of how busy he's been. But to be fair, Shauna and John are acting weirdly, excessively flirty with each other, and I don't know about that.
Hi! John lent me his car to do some errands, so I picked him up after class.
They make up though, and everything's fine.
I never meant to make you jealous.
Be jealous?
Yeah.
I just got a notification for roofing. Transform your roof this winter. No thanks, I'm good. I don't own a roof. Okay, episode 3 is pretty fun. This one is all about misogyny, all about women being oppressed, which we love. We love that. There's sort of a progression of feminist / misogynistic issues that we're dealing with here in this episode. So I'm gonna kind of go on a scale from like least severe to like, wow, that's a lot. We're fighting misogyny in this one. Big time. First thing, Ruthie has been playing American football, but she told her mom that she's been playing soccer. She didn't want to tell her about the football because she could get tackled and hurt and all that. But then when Annie finds out that she has been playing football, she's a-okay with it because Annie's a good mom. And Ruthie looks adorable in her little football uniform. Oh my God. Next up on the list, we've got Simon, who joined a home ec class with Dina to be with Dina, but then realizes that every single person in that class is a girl, except for him. Simon is upset about this, about being in a class with the girls, and he wants to move to the woodshop class instead because men love wood.
You'd rather be in woodshop because there are more guys in there.
And wood. Men love wood.
He gives a whole speech about how much men love wood.
The smell of wood, the look of wood, the way it looks when it's varnished, the way it crackles in a fire, the way it can be as flexible and airy as a piece of kite paper.
Turns out though, apparently, Simon is like a god at baking, one of the best in the class. He makes phenomenal snickerdoodles, I've heard.
And as it turns out, I'm some sort of a super chef, and now everyone's treating me like I'm one of the girls.
He does end up moving into woodshop, which I think is kind of lame because he's really good at cooking, and it would have been fun to have him continue to be in a class full of girls, but whatever. In the end, the boys end up cooking dinner for the girls that night because they're off doing a protest, but we'll get to that later. So that's nice. The boys do cooking for one night. Feminism. Shauna in this episode is doing a mysterious interview.
What kind of interview is in an apartment?
Okay, just remember, I haven't seen him in 20 years.
Turns out she's doing an interview with her dad, who left when she was really little and has had nothing to do with her, never paid child support, never did anything for her. She's asking for him to step up and help out with school because she needs money. She's been on her own. She's struggling. Eric does some digging on this guy, finds out he's like a big IT man and actually has done really well for himself, so he has plenty of money. But Shauna's dad sucks ass. He tells Shauna that he will not help her because he did it all on his own so she can do it all on her own, to which Shauna replies, actually, Mom put you through college, you stupid guy. I added that last part.
Mom worked your way through college. You didn't.
Shauna has basically been taking care of herself since she was 16, and her dad still refuses to be a dad, so that sucks, and I'm sorry, Shauna. But you know what? Shauna is a strong, independent woman, and she's gonna do it. She's gonna do it. Now, Eric's storyline in this one is just frustrating as hell. He's counseling a soon-to-be newlywed couple.
Jessica will be responsible for cooking and cleaning and laundry and childcare.
And the man of this relationship is just a straight-up, flat-out misogynist.
And I will be responsible for bringing home the paycheck, deciding how that money is spent, and when it's time for us to have children.
Eric tries to talk to this guy about how he's being the worst and specifically calls out the word obey, which I think is really interesting.
Love, honor, and obey. What's to discuss?
For one thing, there's that pesky word, obey.
In the religion I was raised in, obedience was a really big deal. Like, the most important thing you could be is obedient, specifically to God, but, you know, just obedient in general to your parents, to your leaders. You obey, and you obey without question. Obedience is viewed as virtuous. this. If you are obedient, you are good. And I 1,000,000% disagree with that. I don't think that obedience is virtue. I don't think that people should just be obedient because obedience. If you want people to obey your law or your rules or whatever, you need to earn the respect from people to obey you. You need to give them the reasons why they need to be obeying you. It's not just, I'm in charge, obey me. No. No thanks. No, that's bullshit. Think about the whys behind the obedience, please. Otherwise, you are very susceptible to being controlled and abused and manipulated. Okay, stepping off the soapbox now. So this couple, their names are Ryan and Jessica, and because Eric does not agree with Ryan's overly misogynistic and controlling views, this couple decides to fire Eric as their minister. But then Ryan's mom shows up at Eric's house and is like, oh my God, I have got some tea for you, boy. Apparently, Ryan's dad is also like hugely misogynistic POS. She tells Eric that Ryan and Ryan's father treat her, Ryan's mother, like a mentally challenged housekeeper. Those are the words that she uses.
Ryan and my husband treat me like a mentally challenged housekeeper.
She was waiting until after her son gets married to file for divorce with her current husband. She also explains to Eric how she was manipulated into feeling like she had the luxury of staying home, when in reality she was just being controlled by a very bad, mean, controlling man. We've all been there. And I just have a question for Eric after having this conversation with Ryan's mother. Eric, do you still not believe in divorce? Because I think you should start believing in divorce. You've seen enough evidence to support that there are good reasons for divorce, and it should definitely be a thing. So Ryan's mom calls up Jessica, tricks her into coming to Eric's house.
Jessica, it's Betty. Yes, I'm over at Reverend Camden's house, and Ryan asked that you join us.
Jessica shows up and she's like, guys, I'm so sorry, but I'm not gonna marry him.
I can't marry Ryan. At least not until we come to a better understanding of what marriage is about.
Yeah, girl, be free. We didn't even need a pep talk from Ryan's mother to talk some sense into this girl, okay? However, this is what baffles me. Ryan shows up and is like asking Eric for help. I don't know what happened, something like that. He's just being a little baby.
So thanks to you, Jessica's not gonna marry me.
Doesn't understand how his fiance could possibly not want to marry him. And Eric takes him in to help him and teach him. And, it's like, that's great. But men like this, with a father like his, I think the damage has been done. I don't know if you can undo misogyny like that. I'm hopeful, but I don't know.
Did you tell Jessica she can't call off the wedding?
Of course I told her she can't call off the wedding.
This guy's been trained to be a misogynist his entire life. You can't just undo that with a couple of conversations.
I know what a wife is. A wife is a man's servant, just like man is God's servant.
But maybe there's hope for this guy, because Eric does have magical powers that he's very good at using. The big part of this episode that was like, oh, wow, okay, was about Annie. Annie's journey in this is very interesting. Annie's outside of a grocery store or something, and she sees a protest going on. And in this protest, there are some Muslim women wearing hijabs. One of them comes up to Annie and gives her a paper that talks about the Taliban and everything going on in Afghanistan, with women being very severely oppressed. Upon further research, if this little infographic is correct, this particular type of hijab or Islamic veil is called a burqa. I will refer to this as a hijab, but it's a burqa. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Okay, bye. Annie's whole storyline in this episode revolves around the conflict in Afghanistan. She cannot stop thinking about it. It is consuming her mind. The thing that's just wild about this plotline to me is that Annie starts seeing other women in her life wearing hijabs. I don't really know how to feel about it. It just is a thing that happened, and it's interesting. There's a part where she's with Shauna, and Shauna walks into the other room and then comes back, and Annie sees her wearing a hijab. And there's another part where she sees Mary and Lucy wearing hijabs, and Annie is just very, very obsessed. In the end, because Eric had his heart attack and needs to rest, he asks Annie to give the sermon in church, and Annie takes that opportunity to talk about Afghanistan and the suffering of women because of the Taliban.
The women of Afghanistan have been made shadows, and they cannot be heard because their voices have been silenced.
And earlier, when the boys were cooking dinner, the women were out in the protest for the women of Afghanistan. Annie finds Lucy in the protest. She says she's very proud and is like, this is the least we can do.
It's the least we can do to try and raise awareness about this problem.
You're right. It's the least we can do.
I don't understand. Like, literally, I just don't understand how holding signs and walking in a circle is helping women in Afghanistan. I feel like doing stuff like this in a small town in California is more virtue signaling than anything, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being really obtuse about this issue and protesting actually does a lot of good, but I don't want to de-emphasize the importance of the issue. I just think the way it's being portrayed is very silly. The ultimate, like, pinnacle of what they do to help with this issue is walk around in a circle holding signs and talk about it in church. We're really fighting misogyny on this one. We're fighting back, okay? At the very least, the episode is spreading awareness.
It's the least we can do to try and raise awareness about this problem.
I wish there was more of like a concrete idea of what people could actually do to help, because as far as I'm aware, the Taliban and everything it's still an issue in Afghanistan. I mean, maybe I'm really behind on world issues, but I don't think much has changed.
You're right.
If there is something we can actually do to help with this, let me know, because I don't know. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a little preachy. Literally.
Because a group in Afghanistan called the Taliban has come to power.
Feminism! Let's go. I can't get over Simon's speech about wood.
Solid and unyielding as the oak hull of a mighty Viking ship.
It's just something else. It's really special.
What is the substance of our lives, you know?
You're a freak.
Episode 4, we're finally solving an issue that has been talked about every single episode so far. Like I said, the continuity goes a little bit too far.
Are we going to look for a new car today?
I promise we'll look tomorrow.
You've been saying that all summer, and driving the Meals on Wheels van is getting a little old.
Mom, when are we gonna replace the station wagon?
When we have the time and we get the doctor bills paid. You might want to notify the Meals on Wheels van's next of kin because it is officially dead.
The family needs a new car because Mary crashed their minivan, apparently. Mary has really bad luck with cars. In order to be able to afford a new car, Eric is going to need a raise from the church. So he approaches the church treasurer, Lou. Lou is like, oh, of course, we've got room in the budget. It'll be approved. No problem. You've got your raise, babes. Well, conflict happens with this. Annie assigns Ruthie to help Eric in picking out a new car.
Really? Just me and Daddy? We don't have to bring Sam and David?
While they're out looking at cars, Ruthie convinces Eric that it would be a great idea to try out a red convertible sports car looking thing just for fun, just for the heck of it. As they're driving around, they drive past the church as Lou and the other board members of the church are walking out of their meeting where they just talked about budgets and stuff. They see Eric drive by and they're like, was that your Reverend?
Does Reverend Camden own a fancy convertible?
I don't think so. What?
And then they drive back past the church again for some reason, like immediately.
I just saw him driving one.
Oh, you must have made a mistake.
So they could get a second look and be like, yeah, that's your Reverend in a sports car. Then they decide, never mind, we're not gonna give Eric a raise, no. Eric gets a call letting him know that his raise was vetoed. As he's telling Annie about it, Ruthie was listening in the closet. She decides to take her little bike and go down to the church and interrupt that meeting, which is happening again or still happening, or maybe it didn't happen. I don't know why these guys are always at the church. I don't know how many meetings they have, but Ruthie shows up in time for their budget meeting that hasn't happened apparently. And Ruthie puts her foot down. She explains what happened and it all works out, okay? Lou comes over to the house, apologizes to Eric and is like, I'm so sorry, your daughter explained everything, you get your raise. And Ruthie picks out an electric minivan for them. They get an electric car in 1999. Also, in this episode, Matt is starting to realize he hates his job working in the cafeteria at the hospital.
I hate this job! I hate this job! I hate this job!
So let me ask you something. Do you hate this job?
Matt ends up making friends with someone at the hospital named Adam who has a genetic disorder.
What are you in for?
You seem like a nice guy, so I'll give you the short version. I have what's known as MPS disorder, which prevents your bones from growing up.
They become buddies, and through their friendship, Matt is trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life.
How about a job on the bomb squad?
No.
How about a fisherman?
Adam keeps telling Matt to go climb a tree.
So the real problem is you're jealous that your roommate has a better job than you do.
Basically, yeah.
So go climb a tree.
Like, it's like the thing he says more than anything is that Matt needs to climb a tree.
Go climb a tree. Then you'll know. Then it'll all make sense.
In the end, a nurse ends up telling Matt that there's a tree outside of Adam's hospital room window, so Matt climbs a tree.
Hey, how you doing, pal? I finally know what my goal is. I know what I want to be in life.
And Matt decides that he wants to be a doctor, which is very exciting. And then there's like a cop climbing up the tree after Matt. What? Why? When the family gets the electric car, Annie says that they can use their fuel savings to pay for Matt's medical school. So
don't worry, we can pay for med school with our fuel savings.
very good, very good. Episode 5 is a pot episode, which is awesome. This one is great. Simon has this new friend, Lee, and Lee is telling stories about how crazy awesome his dad is. His dad is like in the CIA and he works with the police and does all this really cool stuff, according to Lee. Eric just cannot help but be in everybody's business, and he does not believe that Lee's dad is actually in the CIA and actually helps out the police. So he calls up his friend Sergeant Michaels and is like, hey, do you know who this kid's dad is? Turns out the kid's dad is not very cool.
Jeff Patterson, Lee's dad, has had some trouble with the law.
And instead of letting it go and being like, it's fine, this kid's just telling stories to make him feel better about how crappy his dad is, he's like, I need to be all up in this kid's business. I need to fix all his problems. Lee walks into the house one day to spend time with Simon and drops his backpack in the... It's just the silliest way. Oh no, my bag. And of course, the kid has weed in his bag.
I'll just give you a hand.
And of course, Eric immediately finds the weed.
I can explain.
Maybe he found it.
I did find it. It's not mine, honest.
This kid's dad had been arrested previously for possession of drugs, so Eric and Sergeant Michaels go over to their house and confront the dad. The dad is immediately like, you didn't tell them that those drugs were mine, right?
Well, you didn't get them from me. Did you tell them they were my drugs?
Because I don't do drugs. You didn't tell them that.
Because you people should know he's a little liar, my son. Isn't that right, Lee? You like to make up stories about everything?
That kid of mine, liar. He's a big fat liar, lying guy.
I didn't say I got it from you. It's not my dad's marijuana.
Next day, Lee admits to Simon that the drugs were his dad's. The pot definitely belonged to his dad, and that his dad was very upset at him for taking and losing the drugs. Lee took the drugs from his dad so that he wouldn't smoke the marijuana. He wanted to keep them from his dad, which is why they were in his bag. Simon forgives Lee and tells him it's okay because there's only 2 things that you need to do to be friends with Simon.
You're still my friend?
You only have to do 2 things to be my friend. Don't lie anymore and stay away from drugs.
I can do that.
Don't lie anymore and stay away from drugs.
I can do that.
Unfortunately, under these conditions, I can no longer be friends with Simon because I'm a liar. A second time, Eric tries to confront this kid's dad, and this time Lee is in on it as well.
Stop lying and making promises you never keep. You smoke marijuana.
Dad, you do smoke marijuana. You smoke marijuana.
You know you do. Grandma knows you do. I know you do. You smoke marijuana.
They've been living with this guy's mom, so Lee's grandma. She's like, I've been a terrible grandma because I've been letting you waste your life away and do drugs. She threatens to kick her son out and all that.
And as long as you're clean and sober, you can live with me. But you've got to get a job.
Maybe should have done that a while ago, but I'm glad Eric was able to help you come to that conclusion. The dad does not want to lose his son, so he admits that he has a problem and decides he's gonna get help, and that's great, you know? Good job, everybody. And everyone's blaming this dad's problems on the marijuana, but like, if we're being real, this guy has much bigger problems than pot. He refuses to get a job and support his family. He refuses to be there for his son. Like, I don't think the marijuana is the biggest problem, but that's what we're focusing on, okay? Not that marijuana can't be a problem. I really just don't think that's the root of the issue here.
You've got to start contributing to the household.
I don't know if I can do it.
Matt mentions to Eric that he must be feeling better from his heart attack, you know, back to being his old self.
So, you must be feeling better.
What makes you say that?
Because you're back meddling in other people's lives.
That do be what he does, though. There's a couple other really wild plot lines in episode 5, which makes this one really fun. Matt is studying with Shauna in the library when he's approached by a guy named James Potter, which honestly, he lives up to his name. He's kind of a piece of shit.
I heard you tutor for money. The test is tomorrow. Please. I'm gonna fail.
James asks Matt to help him study for their history exam. Shauna is like, OMG, no, Matt. He's a cheater. He cheats.
What?
He cheats. So Matt goes to help James, and when they're all studying together, James is staring off into the distance at girls behind Matt.
I know I have a problem focusing on schoolwork.
I just am so easily distracted by women. It makes it impossible for me to study, so what I'm gonna do is pay you even more money to help me cheat.
The only way I'm gonna pass this history midterm is if someone else takes it for me.
Matt declines this offer. It's all whatever. Next day, when they're taking the freaking test, the dude sits next to Matt and Matt's like, go away. And the guy's like, no, I got other plans, dude. I don't need you, but I'm gonna sit uncomfortably close to you for no reason.
Relax, Camden. I don't need you. I made other plans.
And then looks up at like another guy and they like nod to each other, showing us that that guy accepted the money to help James cheat. And as they're doing the test, he's like pushing his book over the edge so that, you know, everyone in the room can see his answers, I guess. Apparently, other people in the class saw this interaction going on between Matt and James and this other dude up front, and they accuse Matt of cheating with them.
Several students approached me to report something was going on between you, James Potter, and another student.
Several students said this?
Several students approached me to report.
I can understand one person being a goody two-shoes and deciding to like rat on them, but several? Nah. In college? But now Matt's in trouble because of hearsay, because of course, because it's Matt. The teacher just takes their word for it and gets Matt in trouble. You never see the other kid, but you do see Matt and James getting in trouble.
I got a message to meet you here.
I got a message to meet you here.
Dad.
James, his dad is like a big donator to the school, so he has like leverage, I guess. He gets Matt's side of the story and realizes that his kid is just a big dummy and decides to finally call his kid out on being a spoiled brat. It's super dramatic and unrealistic and freaking hilarious.
I'm sorry for every one of your problems that I solved. I'm sorry for giving you everything.
He gives him the whole like, I'ma cut you off, boy speech.
You need to figure out how to get through life on your own 2 feet. You're going to thank me for doing this.
And the kid ends up apologizing and getting Matt out of trouble, so at least he's not being severely punished for something he didn't do this time around. Mary also has a pretty interesting plot line here. There's a new girl on the basketball team named Maggie who came from another school, and Maggie hit Mary in the face with a basketball, giving her a big injury on her lip that's like falling off half the time. The prosthetic wound, I mean. It doesn't stay on super well. There's another girl on the basketball team named Corey. We find out that Maggie, who hit Mary in the face, used to go to middle school with Corey.
You know, you look just like somebody I knew at Lincoln Junior High.
I've never been to Lincoln.
My mistake.
And she starts telling everybody that Corey got pregnant when she was 14 and had to drop out of school. Mary finds out this is true. Corey, who has been successfully hiding the fact that she has a young child, is now outed to everybody as having been a teenage mother. Mary and Corey were supposed to be receiving this like all-star academic athlete award together. The award is funded by local businesses, and I guess the local businesses didn't like the idea of someone who was a teenage mother winning an award, so they revoke her reward purely on the basis that she gave birth when she was 14. They still give the award to Mary. She goes up and gives a speech and talks about her friend Corey and how she's being ignored for all the hard work that she's done, and she ends up giving her trophy to this girl. Like literally, Corey worked her butt off and got accepted into 3 different Ivy League colleges, but the local businessman association was just blatantly discriminating against her, which is very fun. And all of these storylines for this episode have one basic theme behind them. The moral of the story is don't take the easy road, work hard. Episode 6 is pretty fun. There's some stuff in this one. First things first, Lucy got her driver's license, and her driver's license photo looks terrible.
The official laminated license with photo.
Point is, Lucy can drive now. Immediately, that day, Lucy gets asked out on a date by this guy named Andrew Nalos.
Sure, I'd love to see a movie tonight.
Great. Pick me up at 7?
Pick you up?
She has a driver's license and he doesn't, so he asks her to pick him up. Lucy's really excited. She goes and picks this guy up for the date, and it ends up being this whole like gender swap experience where the parents are treating her like she would traditionally be the man asking out the daughter.
So you better stay off of busy streets and you better have Andrew home by 10, sharp.
Okay.
I know how you girls are.
What?
And it's supposed to be all like, oh, that's haha funny.
10 o'clock, not 1 minute later, I call the police.
But it's kind of obnoxious because Andrew, her date, is acting all weird too.
That's okay. I can get my own door.
He asked her out, but then he asks her to drive. Then he expects her to open the door for him to get into the car, which is, you know, fine, but weird. Then when they get to the movies, he expects her to pay for the tickets. And Lucy is understandably getting progressively more and more frustrated with how this date is going because he's not communicating at all about his expectations and whatnot. They get to the end of the date and Lucy is so fed up with this guy. He asks her to walk him to the door and she's like, I guess this date couldn't possibly get any worse than it's been. Says this out loud in front of Andrew.
This date couldn't get any worse.
He doesn't care. They get to the doorstep and he kisses her.
Well, good night.
He just kisses her after they had what Lucy felt like was a horrible date. She did kiss him back, I guess. His parents come out and see them kissing and get really upset with her. He asks her out again.
Are you free next Friday?
Nah.
It was weird. It was a weird experience for me. I just felt like I shouldn't have been watching any of that happen.
I had to pick him up, open doors for him, pay for everything, and be grilled by his father.
Welcome to our world.
Simon and Dina are having some issues in this episode because Dina's dad caught them making out and he was kind of like a little grumpy about it. So Simon and Dina weren't able to hang out today. Mary and Simon go together to the pool hall where Simon immediately gets hit on by this girl.
Please tell me this isn't your date.
No, I'm not her date. I'm her brother, Simon.
My 13-year-old brother.
How old are you, Diane?
15.
Completely undeterred by this age difference, she invites Simon to play pool with her and starts hitting on him hard.
Simon, am I holding this stick thingy right?
They're getting all close and kind of flirty when, of course, Dina walks in with her father.
Simon?
Simon was already in trouble with Dina's dad. And now, this?
Dina, this is my girlfriend, Diane. I mean...
Even after Simon says that Dina is his girlfriend, she's like, oh, I didn't know you had a girlfriend. I guess call me though, anyway.
Just give my number to Mary, in case you ever want to call.
So Dina and Simon sit down and have a chat.
Nothing was going on. Then why do you look so guilty? And why do you keep apologizing?
Good questions. If I were her, I probably would have been out of there. Simon gets no consequences for this. None at all. And in fact, this is never brought up again, which I don't understand. Dina's dad sits down and has a conversation with Mary about how these kids are too young to be dating, which, yeah, that is kind of a little bit too young. What are we going to do about it? Nothing, apparently. Nothing.
Oh, Dina's part of some love triangle. She's 13.
Dude. We learned last season that Dina had already been in a very serious relationship when she was 12 or before she was 12, so this isn't new. If you have a problem with this, you probably should have talked to her about it a long time ago. Simon gets a call later that evening from Dina and he's like, oh, phew, I think she finally forgave me, and goes over to her house and that's it. Okay. Big drama of this episode is Julie. Julie comes up to the house and is like, I'm leaving my husband. I'm done with Hank.
We tried, but it's over. Are you capable of carrying my suitcase?
Starts getting mad at Eric and blames him for her getting married to Hank. She's like, it's all your fault that I dated him because you didn't like him.
If you hadn't disliked that man so much, I never would have married him.
Babe, you married this man so fast. Like, don't don't blame Eric for that. She has some issues with Hank, reasons why she's wanting to leave him when she's 9 months pregnant. The reasons she gives are one of his patients is a supermodel.
No, being a model wasn't good enough for her. She had to go and be a supermodel.
I don't know how she knows that, but one of his patients is a supermodel that he works with as a doctor. And the other thing, which actually is a valid concern.
After I wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, Hank goes in and re-cleans the kitchen. He cleans a clean kitchen.
And she's asked him to stop, but he doesn't. Like, she'll clean the kitchen and then he'll re-clean it afterward, which makes her feel really crappy. Annie's explanation for this is like, well, he is a doctor.
Well, he's a doctor. They're very clean.
No, Annie, that's not normal.
I'm not having a baby with that man. I refuse. No one can make me. No one.
To try and help resolve this problem of Julie wanting to leave Hank when she's 9 months pregnant because he has a patient who's a supermodel and also he re-cleans the kitchen after she cleans the kitchen, Eric goes to talk to Hank at work. And Hank is so dismissive of Julie's feelings.
Eventually she will calm down, and I promise to call her once I get 2 seconds.
Yeah, she's just pregnant. She's just hormonal. She'll get over it.
Right now, I gotta get back to the delivery room.
Okay, bud, I think I understand why she wants to divorce you, my guy. Eric takes Hank away from work somehow on like a dinner break or something to help him realize how important it is for him to nurture his pregnant wife.
I thought I'd seen it all, but Julie.
The best you can do is just love your wife and buy a lot of ice cream.
During this conversation, Julie starts going into labor at the Camden home, and there are no cars at the house because Lucy's out on a date and Eric is out talking to Hank. Annie has no idea where they are and starts calling everywhere to try and get a hold of Eric and Hank. Not Herrick. Julie is completely in denial about going into labor at the Camden home and thinks she's completely fine. She's not.
I feel fine now.
Yeah.
I think it was all just a false alarm.
So while Eric is at the very last minute coaching Hank on how to be a good husband to his pregnant wife, Julie is having their baby.
But I need Hank. I want to hit Hank because Hank did this to me and Hank is a bad man.
Eventually, they get to the Camden home, but at that point, it's too late to go to the hospital, so Hank, luckily who's an OBGYN, is able to help Julie give birth in Eric and Annie's bed. Initially, Julie is like, I don't want to talk to this man, I don't want to see you.
Get out. Not you. Him. Get that man out of here.
But Hank just kind of pushes his way in and helps deliver the baby, and then afterwards she completely forgives him and everything is fine. There are no actual problems, you know, she was just pregnancy hormoning, I guess. The baby is a girl and they name her Erica after Eric and Annie. Hank calls Julie perfect.
That's what you are. Perfect.
And it's like, can we talk about why you were re-cleaning the kitchen after she cleans, bud? Are we just going to ignore that he was doing that? Because that's kind of weird. Hank and Julie's relationship has so far been like this the entire time we've seen them, and it's not going to stop, if you were wondering. Episode 7 is the delinquent episode. It starts off with Simon hanging out with his group of guy friends after school's out, just waiting for his mom to come pick him up. They're having a gross boy things contest.
It's truly pitiful. All right, here, watch this.
And after one of his friends does like a big burp or something, Simon just decides to pull out the finger, both of the fingers, 2 birds right there toward his friend, which is kind of funny, but his mom pulls up and sees it happen, and the principal just happens to be out on the grounds watching the kids and also sees this happen. The editing when Annie and the principal see this is so funny. This is exactly how it is in the show. I did not alter this at all. Annie is appalled. It is so funny to me how seriously they take this issue. Eric goes and talks to Simon. He's like, why? How could you do this?
Before I knew it, my fingers were just kind of levitating around on their own. It just happened.
I don't know. My fingers just did it. Annie talks to Simon about this and tells him her opinion, which is that people who do that gesture just aren't smart enough to think of something better to do, which is like a classic Christian thing. So many Christians are against swearing and stuff, which is like fine if that's how you feel, but it's just funny to me that the excuse they often use is, well, people who swear just aren't smart enough to think of better words to use or more creative words to use.
It's like the people who use that gesture aren't smart or clever enough to think of something better to do.
Growing up as a Mormon, I would hear that excuse all the time as well, not just with swearing, but with like alcohol and coffee, because Mormons are really against those things. The reasoning is often a hoity-toity superiority thing. Like, I can't believe that some people just need alcohol to have fun. Like, I don't need alcohol to have fun. People just get so addicted to coffee and like, I don't need coffee to feel energized. You just can't think of any better words to say. You're just not smart enough. Shut up. If you say that, I'm sorry, but you're on the same level of Mormons who think that they are having more fun at a party without alcohol when they've never even tried alcohol before. Just keep that in mind.
Even if it was a normal guy thing, I was disappointed to see you doing something so ordinary.
Again, it's that same vibe. Like, ugh, get over yourself. It's not that big of a deal. They go talk to the principal, and Simon gets a 3-day suspension from school because of gang-related gestures. All right, wild, but all right. Big part of episode 7. Oh my God, this is a huge thing that impacts like the whole rest of the season. Mary's basketball coach goes on some crazy power trip and decides that since the girls' grades are not as good as he wants them to be, he's gonna cancel basketball this year.
This season and this team are canceled.
Wait, hold on a minute. What?
Okay, pause. Has a coach ever done this? Ever? Like, how often in schools are athletes given so much leeway because they're in sports? Just give them a good grade. They're in sports. And this coach is essentially quitting his job.
You can't do that.
What are you doing? You're gonna get like, he's gonna get fired. I'm just baffled at this power move he's making because the girls don't have the grades that he wants them to. Like, what? Not only is this really weird behavior coming from this coach, this news about the gym lockout and the team being canceled for this season, it's on the news.
Kennedy High School girls varsity basketball coach Jason Cleary has staged a lockout of his own team.
What? How? This must be the smallest small town. We also get a Rod cameo in this episode and the next one. He's talking about the girls and the basketball team and spreading rumors. He's like a little gossip girl. It's very fun for him.
I also heard that a couple of the girls are really Russian ringers brought over here to help win the championship.
After the girls get kicked out of basketball for the year, they are understandably upset and they plot a revenge scheme. Simon and Ruthie set up the baby monitor in Mary's room and are listening in on Mary having a conversation over the phone with somebody. They hear Mary say something that sounds suspicious.
Whoa, the last part's a little extreme, but I can handle the part where we go get something to eat.
I'm not sure what that means, but it definitely means something.
Yep, it does, Simon. Means something. Later that night, what ends up happening is the basketball girls go out to dinner and then go to the school, break into the gym, and start vandalizing the gym, like pretty severely. They trip an alarm and cops show up and they all get in trouble. Mary gets arrested. Yeah, and this is a to be continued episode in the first part of the season, which is really exciting. Two-parter, the drama. At the beginning of episode 8, we get a very fun, dramatic scene of Mary in jail. And we find out Mary has to get a lawyer because she's in big trouble.
If you need any help finding a lawyer,
what?
You're gonna need a lawyer.
Eric stops by the gym to see the damage that was done, and oh wow, they messed it up for sure. Really did a number on the gym there. Wow. We also get to see Rod again with Lucy and Lucy's other friend, who I forgot her name, but they look at the gym and they go wow as well.
I did not imagine this. This is bad.
I am still Team Rod, by the way. Eric, because he is Eric, has a really great connection to a lawyer who is able to help Mary out, and he gets Mary into a diversion program. So Mary will be doing community service, and if she successfully completes this community service program, her record will be squeaky clean. Unfortunately, though, because of this, Mary loses the scholarship she had to play basketball at a local school, I think.
The scholarship committee felt that there were better candidates out there for the limited funds that they have to donate.
She no longer has her scholarship, which really sucks. Honestly, though, I don't know if she would still have her scholarship anyway, since her coach canceled basketball this year, but that's a whole other issue. Mary has to go to a student court to receive her punishment from the students, I guess. Lucy happens to be a part of student court and is a part of giving Mary her punishment. I don't know how that all works, but it's pretty funny. Lucy gives this whole speech about how they should be punished.
And I want you to make up for what you did to all of us. If only by showing up every day in the hall as examples of the best and worst we can be.
In the student court, Mary receives a vague sentencing of showing us all how to do the right thing.
Gandhi said we're supposed to be the change we want to see in the world. So maybe part of the way you can make things up to us is by showing us how.
So they need to show up to school and be good examples. And then they clean up the gym. I think that was their punishment. It was just cleaning up the gym. Simon and Ruthie during this episode are ruminating really heavily over the fact that they overheard Mary saying that she was going to do something extreme.
I'm not sure what that means, but it definitely means something.
And they now feel responsible for Mary's actions because they didn't tell their parents that they overheard this thing. They feel like they maybe could have prevented this. They could have prevented Mary getting arrested. And because they didn't, they will guaranteed be going to hell. So Simon and Ruthie go on this whole spiritual journey where they visit a bunch of different churches to try and get forgiveness from God to make sure they won't be going to hell. They go to a Catholic confession and talk to the priest through the booth about everything. Simon brings up his finger incident again.
Oh yeah, and I gave the finger, but I already got in trouble and I apologize for that.
They also go to a Jewish synagogue and speak with the rabbi there. The rabbi informs them that unfortunately they've already missed this year's celebration of Yom Kippur, which is the annual day for forgiveness of sins in Jewish culture. But the rabbi gives them very good advice about this whole situation.
I'm sorry, but you know you can't control other people's free will even if you could see these things coming, which most of the time you can't.
Then they go to a Buddhist temple. They talk to the head monk guy, who I believe is called the abbot, an abbot. They learn yet again there is no reason for them to be feeling guilty over Mary's decisions.
It's not your fault, so there's no reason for you to have guilt. You can't control what happens.
But it's taking them a lot to learn this lesson. Even after talking to all these spiritual leaders who tell Simon there's no reason for you to be feeling guilty, this isn't your fault, he still feels guilty. So Simon and Ruthie finally talk to their parents and then they feel better.
We eavesdropped on Mary while she was on the phone and we heard her say that something was pretty extreme and we didn't know what that meant, but we knew it meant something and we were going to tell you.
I like the way that Simon describes their little spiritual adventure they had today.
We talked to a bunch of God's people and tried to do what they said.
People you talked to are all friends of mine. They called to let me know you were out repenting.
He describes it as him and Ruthie going out and talking to a bunch of God's people. And Eric says that all of those people were his friends. And I actually really like that. Because in a way, it's the writers of the show acknowledging that there are many forms of people who can be God's people, and it's not just like one church that's God's church. At the very least, the Camden family sees other religious leaders as equally God's people just as much as Eric is, which isn't normally what I've seen with Christianity, but I like the take. I like the perspective that gives. It's like a really good representation of that bumper sticker, the coexist bumper sticker. I feel like that's what they were trying to do here, and I like it. Matt and Shauna have another ridiculous fight again, and it's Matt's fault again.
You know, not having a family to lean on meant that you didn't have a family to worry about. You didn't have anybody to worry about except yourself.
Matt is being really obnoxious to Shauna, and earlier I said that Shauna becomes the worst, and she does, but Matt also is kind of the worst in this. I failed to mention that earlier, but Shauna and Matt are both collectively the worst.
Right now, after this conversation, I don't feel like you know me at all.
Eric has like a big freak out blow up at the end of the day because he feels like everyone's walking on eggshells around him because, you know, the heart attack thing that happened. Remember that?
Look, I'm sorry for everything, including putting more stress on your heart.
Yeah, me too. I didn't mean to.
Oh, save it!
The speech that Eric gives is absolutely bananas cuckoo town.
My pulse is steady, and I feel great. My stride is long. My hips are wide. God designed me for the long race. Just remember, when you leave this room, this house, and this zip code, and you're running around unfettered and free, you're all my blood. And blood follows blood. So when you finally get to that place behind my back where you're so desperate to get, don't be surprised to find me already there.
What?
I've been a guy who's had a heart attack for a few months, but I've been your dad for years, and I know you people. So listen up. Make room for Daddy. Because Daddy's home.
That was absolutely unhinged.
Later, Eric is talking to Annie about this big speech that he did, talking about how much of an impact that it made.
I guess my speech probably reassured him.
Annie's response is so funny.
It was really something for all of us, dear.
Yeah, babe. That was awesome.
Because Daddy's home.
Episode 9. The storyline starts with Matt and Shauna going to the Camden home to do their laundry because they're both poor college students and they don't have like a laundry system where they live. So they're doing something quite practical by going over to his parents' house to do some laundry. Matt and Shauna, again, are just weird. The vibes are so off with this one. The writers in this storyline were really trying to do something creative and sneaky and tricky. You know, they're trying new things. Matt and Shauna are having a controversy with one another, and it seems pretty serious.
I think we should slow down and maybe see other people.
Where'd this come from?
I just think this relationship is too much for me.
The show portrays this very serious conflict by trying to trick us into thinking that they're talking about sex.
Matt, you can't talk me into it. It's just not gonna happen.
They're trying to make us think that Matt is trying to pressure Shauna into sex.
You wanna do a load of whites together?
To tell you the truth, I don't want to do anything that intimate right now.
Fine.
That is not what is happening at all. It's a little ridiculous. What it boils down to, what's actually happening under the surface here, Shauna is feeling super weird about doing laundry with Matt. This is like a big problem for her.
Ugh, I don't feel right about this. I wish I hadn't agreed to it. Laundry seems so intimate.
Too much. Too fast for her. No.
Putting my dirty underwear in with Matt's dirty underwear when we haven't even seen each other's underwear, is that okay or is that weird?
Actually, there's a couple things going on with Shauna. The first thing is the laundry. Now, the other thing going on underneath the surface is that Matt is really wanting to do couples counseling with Shauna. He wants to go to therapy. He wants to work through issues with her, which seems pretty healthy if you were to ask me, but Shauna seems to be having big issues with this.
All I'm asking is that you consider it.
I have. So considered, and the answer is no.
Okay, no pressure.
Shauna does not open up to Matt about anything, which is, I think, why he's wanting to go to couples counseling with her, because he's feeling a disconnect there, I'm assuming. But instead of opening up to Matt, Shauna decides to open up to Annie, and they have the most interesting conversation.
I came over to talk. I want to talk, but I don't know how to talk.
And you don't want to go to counseling with him?
She tells Annie about this problem that she has, that she's been just struggling with, just this big problem.
It's serious. I have a serious problem.
When she explains further what this problem is, she says sort of a hodgepodge of words that sound inspirational but don't actually mean anything when you put them all together.
I don't want to air my dirty laundry in front of him. I had a crummy life, and the crummy part is over. I've grown up, and I'm on my own, and I'm doing fine. I didn't grow up like a normal person. I mean, I don't even know how to do the simplest things like normal people. My goal isn't normal. My goal is to be me. I guess that's what I've been so afraid of talking about with Matt. I'm sorry. I guess I just needed to hear all of that out loud.
Concludes that the big problem is that she just wants to be herself.
My goal isn't normal. My goal is to be me.
She just wants to be herself. That's her problem.
I guess that's what I've been so afraid of talking about with Matt.
And she feels so much better after explaining this to Annie.
I guess I just needed to hear all of that out loud.
It doesn't mean anything.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I am way more confused now than I was before.
It's serious. I have a serious problem. My goal is to be me.
Matt's talking to Lucy about what's going on with Shauna, how she's been acting kind of weird.
I know, but you were doing your laundry together.
So?
Are you kidding?
Lucy confirms that doing laundry together is extremely intimate and moving way too fast in this relationship.
I would have to be practically married to let some guy see my dirty clothes. Yuck.
I guess. I don't know. It just seems a little ridiculous to me. But who am I to judge what one person feels is too intimate, you know? After talking to Lucy, Matt's like, oh, I'm so dumb. How could I not have known that this was the problem?
What was I thinking? Thanks.
Goes and apologizes to Shauna.
It was a stupid idea.
I think we need to spend more time together before we do laundry.
Shauna finally opens up to Matt about all her deepest, darkest issues and problems, as we've been discussing.
Could I tell you something about me? When I was growing up, my home life was different from the other kids.
She says a few really interesting things to Matt. One of the things is that she got really good grades in school because she was trying to fit in better.
So I tried to make myself fit in by doing well in school. And it worked.
Like, because her home life was so bad, she came to the conclusion that getting good grades in school would help her have more friends. It's a good thing to do, but for me, it had the opposite effect.
And it worked.
She's also very concerned, very worried that her dating Matt is going to sidetrack her, distract her from her goal of becoming a doctor.
You scare me. Getting close to you scares me because I don't want to get sidetracked from my dream.
Which is not, like, the most exciting thing you want to hear from your significant other. Kind of seems more like Shauna doesn't really like Matt that much, is kind of what it seems like. I'm just spitballing here, though. I don't know. I'm not Shauna. There's a very serious plot in this episode that ends up taking a silly turn, as it usually does. It starts with Eric receiving a $20,000 donation for the church.
Check made out to the church for $20,000.
It is. It is.
Which he is stoked about, but then he digs a little deeper, finds out that the lady who donated the money to the church was actually donating her reparations money because she's feeling very conflicted about her reparations money.
I've been holding on to the money because I didn't know what to do with it.
She tells her story to Eric, and it's very sad and does not look good for the United States, let me tell you. Her story is that she was a young child during World War II when there was a lot of racism in the United States directed toward Japanese people.
My family was taken to an internment camp during the war.
Which is a concentration camp. Her brother was drafted, sent off to fight in the war, and died.
My brother fought in the 442nd Regiment for the same country that had us in the internment camp.
That's a part of history that the U.S. doesn't really talk about. I think that they try to forget that we did that, but we definitely did that, and it was not good.
Most of the people who suffered and deserve the money the most are not alive today.
The $20,000 she donated to Eric was her reparations money to pay her back for having been sent to the camp as a child, which, first of all, that's not enough money. Even in 1999, I mean, come on, really? You put this little girl in a concentration camp. All you can muster up is a measly 20 grand. Anyway, she's having an internal struggle over this money, feeling like she doesn't want it because money doesn't pay back what was done to her family during the war. Eric gets in contact with a guy who served in the war with this woman's older brother. How did he do this? We get a very vague explanation that the Colonel.
I owe the Colonel.
Because Colonel traveled the world and now is super into humanitarian stuff and somehow has a connection to this guy who served in the war with this woman's older brother. I guess.
Your father has been very involved with aiding public awareness about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team.
Eric wants to try and convince this woman that she should keep her reparations money, take it back from the church, and in the process introduces her to this other guy. They show up at her door, and for no other reason than manufacturing drama, she doesn't let him in.
I'm not interested in talking.
And then, like, a few minutes later, she calls Eric.
Oh, hi, hon. You had a phone call? Sashiko Ishida. She wants you to come back over and bring your friend, Mr. Muranaka.
He just needed to pad the runtime, I guess. Like, literally no explanation other than, I don't know what came over me.
Sorry for being so rude to you both today. I don't know what came over me.
Manufactured drama, babe. That's what came over you. They talk, she decides she'll take the reparation money back, and then this guy like kind of asks her out on a date.
I've put my life on hold for so many years, but now
Well, now is the good place to start.
And they decide they're gonna go to dinner together, so, all right.
How about I take you to dinner?
Yes, please. That's very nice.
Eric is mighty successful with his magical god powers. He's able to miraculously find a guy who served with this woman's brother in the war, gets them together to bond, maybe get married, I don't know. Gets her to take her reparations money back and does a heel click on the lawn.
I still got it.
It's a good day for Eric. In episode 10, we get a little bit more of an explanation as to why Shauna has been acting a little bit weird lately with Matt. Apparently, Shauna has been applying to medical school out of state. She uses Eric as a reference, who gives her a glowing recommendation to the admissions office at NYU. Shauna not only gets accepted to NYU, but she gets an early acceptance to go midway through the year. Shauna hasn't talked to Matt about this yet. He has no idea.
Something wrong?
He knows something is up with Shauna because Shauna's been weird and Shauna has a very hard time talking about her feelings. This is just something we know about her.
I came over to talk. I want to talk, but I don't know how to talk.
You want to talk to me about anything?
And Matt figures out that Eric knows what's going on with Shauna.
As much as you and Shauna love each other, things can happen.
What things? What do you mean by that?
And he gets really mad at Eric, who reiterates that this is Shauna's news to tell and he needs to keep it confidential because, reverend duties, you know? Matt starts harassing Shauna to spill the beans about what's going on.
So do you want some coffee or?
I want to know what my dad knows that I don't. What are you hiding? What's going on? Talk to me.
I take it that's a no on the coffee.
When she finally comes forward about the fact that she got accepted to NYU, Matt gets mad at her, really upset with her.
Why didn't you tell me about this? Don't you trust me?
Because he is a little selfish, immature baby boy.
Come on, can't we talk about this?
I think it's too late for that.
Eric talks to Matt, giving him some very good advice.
Someone who truly loves her would be supportive and happy for her regardless of their own personal feelings.
I don't know if I can do that.
And maybe you don't love her as much as you think you do.
Yeah. It's kind of what love is, buddy. Matt comes to his senses and decides to throw a little celebration for Shauna and apologizes, owns up to being selfish. And Shauna reiterates that it is very important for her to go to New York for medical school.
I am crying because I'm happy that someone really does love me. Loves me enough to let me go.
If you love me, you let me go.
Let me go.
Simon is struggling in one of his classes and is in need of some extra credit.
You could help the visual arts guys with their project for the holidays.
Visual arts guys?
Simon meets up with the kids after school, and they are so sketchy.
Mrs. Jasper told me to help you guys with the holiday mural.
Gonna help us?
Right. Like, comically sketchy.
Great, this is gonna be fun.
Hey, the real fun comes later.
What do you mean?
Never mind. What do you want to bet Camden's a spy sending to bust our whole operation?
This kid's gonna ruin our whole operation. They're sitting there spray painting indoors, and Simon's like, oh, smells kind of funny. And the other guy is like,
oh, you'll get used to it. Actually, probably start to like it after a while.
You'll get used to the fumes after a while, bruh.
Where are the other guys? Oh, they decided to catch a breather.
He then at some point comes across all the kids huffing the paint. Really cool. It is really unpleasant to look at, quite disturbing, honestly. One of the kids even gets a bloody nose, and he's like, don't tell, please, you can't tell anybody.
Remember, not a word.
Next day, come to find out, this kid is in the hospital and has blamed everything on Simon. Like, he tells his mom that Simon brought the spray paint.
The spray paint Pete used came from your garage. Pete said Simon brought it to school.
Eric and Simon go to visit this kid in the hospital, and the mom just is so aggressive towards Simon immediately.
You did this, didn't you? You start hanging around with him and he ends up in the hospital. You just stay away from my son. You've done enough damage.
Since you brought the paint to school, it is entirely your fault that my child was huffing paint. Anyway, Simon talks to the kid and he comes clean about it, and Simon's name is cleared. Mary has been doing her community service for a minute, and this is the first episode we get to see her doing her community service. And oh my god, this is so funny. Mary meets this guy while doing community service named Robbie. She gets a phone call from him in the beginning of the episode, alluding to some kind of friendship or romantic interest. And then we see her at community service with Robbie.
Hi. Hi yourself.
There is an entire, minutes long montage, and all they do the entire time is look at each other and smile at each other while they're picking up trash. It's so funny. They don't actually, talk. This is pure lust. They are just looking at each other with doe eyes the entire day. Because Mary is so smitten with Robbie, it's impossible for her to keep this to herself, so she starts gabbing about how great Robbie is.
No more information.
Robbie Palmer, Robbie Palmer, Robbie Palmer. Oh, isn't it wonderful? I love that name.
Everyone is pretty upset with Mary because she's supposed to be being punished right now. They want her to be miserable while doing community service as punishment for vandalizing the gym. Lucy and Mary specifically are having a really weird beef about this.
But you're supposed to be on a punishment wave.
So? No one ever said punishment had to be a bad thing.
Yeah, they did.
There's this really funny interaction.
Didn't you notice me giving you the silent treatment in the car?
No.
Well, I was.
Okay.
Don't you want to know why?
No.
Later in the episode, unbeknownst to Mary, this is unplanned, Robbie shows up at the house to talk to Annie and Eric to ask permission to date Mary. And he's actually kind of a sweetheart.
Won't take too much of your time. I just wanted you to meet me and see me for who I really am and not just some troubled youth doing time.
He explains his reasoning for having to do community service, which doesn't actually seem like it's that serious.
And there was beer in the car, which I didn't know until the cops pulled us over, and then I was charged with possession of alcohol by a minor, just being in the car with them.
And he's being really respectful of the parents' rules and of Mary. What ends up happening, though? Eric and Annie decide that Robbie can no longer work with Mary during community service, so they ask for him to be transferred to a different community service group, and he is. Because punishment is supposed to be miserable. Okay, people? That's the message that Annie and Eric want to get across here. But they're not totally punishing Mary because they do allow Robbie to call her. So Robbie and Mary can talk on the phone, but they don't get to see each other. Episode 11, one of the reasons Mary likes Robbie so much is she can relate to him because he was also arrested.
It really helps to have someone to talk to who understands exactly what I'm going through. You know, someone who's been arrested and everything.
Yeah.
These are important things in a relationship, of course. Being able to understand each other on such a deep level.
Someone who's been arrested.
Apparently they've been breaking some rules, though. Robbie goes to a different school, but today Robbie shows up at Mary and Lucy's school, kisses Mary like they've done this before many times. They're oddly comfortable with each other for not seeing each other. Robbie and Mary are getting a little bit impatient, and Robbie wants to take Mary out on a real date. And I'm over here like, it hasn't even been a full episode since y'all have been separated out of community service. Mary is supposed to be being punished right now, remember? Patience, my guy. Eric and Annie are actually quite generous. They offer to allow Robbie to come over to their house to hang out with Mary in person, which I personally think is great. Like, that's good news. That's a plus for you guys. And this is where we see the first red flag about Robbie.
We can have sort of a home date.
Because Robbie gets pissed.
They just want to get to know you a little bit better, and when they do, they'll see how great you are, and then...
It's not gonna work.
He is like uber upset that he can only see Mary at her house.
I really like you, and I want to spend time with you, but I don't think your parents are gonna ever let that happen.
And he makes it seem like because of this, he and Mary are gonna break up.
Well, I'm never gonna give up. You mean too much to me.
But you're stronger than I am.
What is that supposed to mean?
I think it means that I don't want to come to your house tomorrow.
You can't wait a few more months before you sneak off to make out heavily all the time. Clearly, he is way more motivated by the physical aspect of things than having an actual relationship with Mary. Like, that's the first sign of that. Well, Robbie and Eric have a conversation with each other and clear the air where Eric's like, I don't hate you. I just need to get to know you better before you take my daughter out of the house when she's not even supposed to be dating anybody. Like, in my head, seems like they might actually like you a little bit if they're letting you come to the house, bud. Stop being so dramatic.
But you're stronger than I am.
Staying on his brand of being overly dramatic, Robbie shows up at the house later and surprises Mary or whatever and is like, okay, fine, I'll date you now. All right. Lucy gets asked out by a guy who she thinks is super, super cute. This guy named Brad, who's like the hot shit. Brad reminds me a lot of Noah Centineo. All the things about Noah Centineo, even the weird tweets. If that means anything to you.
I've had a crush on you since the 9th grade. Every time I worked up enough courage to ask you out, you were always dating someone.
But there's a problem, okay? On the night that Brad asks Lucy to go on a date, she also has a prior commitment with her Habitat for Humanity group where she's going to be doing some building humanitarian stuff. But Lucy's worried that if she reschedules with Brad or tries to pick a different day, that he won't ask her out again. So instead of communicating with him about that, she decides to lie to her Habitat for Humanity group, telling them that she had some kind of emergency come up and she won't be able to go do the thing today. And the girls are like, okay, that's fine. We've got enough people for this one, so it'll be all right. So then Lucy goes on this date.
I'm single now.
I know. Do you know Susan Gertz from our school?
Her Habitat for Humanity girlfriends are supposed to be doing Habitat for Humanity stuff. They are also at the pool hall where Lucy's on her date with Brad, and they just shame her for going on a date.
This is not what you think it is.
I think we all know exactly what this is.
You blew off the project to have burgers with some guy?
I get that it was a shitty thing to do, but like, you don't have to go that hard.
What kind of woman are you?
The kind of woman that likes men. That's allowed. Why are you guys at the pool hall when you're supposed to be building toilets or something? Did you just skip it to slut shame her? Lucy ultimately realizes she was in the wrong and apologizes to her Habitat for Humanity friends and also breaks up with Brad.
I'm Superman and you're kryptonite.
What?
When you're around me, I feel powerless.
And it's weird. Like, her reasoning for breaking up with Brad is that she likes him too much.
Because I like you so much, I'm willing to blow off other things just to be with you.
What? But Brad gets a big brain idea. He doesn't want to lose Lucy, and clearly she does like him a lot. And you know what he does?
What are you doing?
Spending time with you any way I can.
He joins Habitat for Humanity. That's kind of smooth. That's kind of smooth. It would be different if she outright rejected him and it was like, no, I don't like you, leave me alone. And then he joins Habitat. But she likes him and she said that she likes him. And I don't think he's pushing any boundaries by doing Habitat to spend more time with her. All right, that's just my opinion. Huge thing for this episode. We're still in episode 11. We have one hell of an intro where Ginger shows up. And if you don't know who Ginger is, she's Annie's dad's new wife.
Where's Dad? I don't know. What? What do you mean you don't know? What's going on?
Her dad is missing. Here's the thing. We gotta talk about Annie's dad. If you've watched my previous videos, you know how I feel about this guy. I don't like him. I think he's a loser. Annie adores her dad, worships the guy, and I'm like, girl, he's an idiot. He's actually so dumb. He's kind of like a little man baby, a grandpa baby. And every time I've seen him on the screen, I become further convinced of this fact. So here's what happens. Ginger informs Annie that grandpa has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and that he's been talking a lot recently about traveling to Glen Oak, California from Arizona to visit Annie and the kids. According to Ginger, he just disappeared yesterday without telling her where he was going. So she got a flight to California and went to the Camdens' house to see if he was there. Luckily, we get a call from Grandpa.
Where have you been?
Well, I was on the way to Glen Oak, then I saw a sign for the Sagebrush Motel.
He just decided to stop and stay at a motel somewhere on the way. Luckily, Grandpa does arrive at the house, and when he gets there, Annie has a conversation with him about his Alzheimer's diagnosis. And oh my God.
Ginger told me about the Alzheimer's.
I'm surprised she said anything. I mean, she's been having a hard time even accepting the fact that she had it. She hasn't even told her children yet.
He gaslights Annie so effectively that she legitimately believes Ginger is the one with Alzheimer's, not her father.
Ginger has Alzheimer's?
Who did you think I was talking about?
Ginger said you had Alzheimer's.
No.
It takes Ruthie starting a whole ass fire in the grill under Grandpa's full supervision to convince Annie that something's wrong.
Dad!
What's all the commotion?
I also think Annie's just a little bit delusional about who her father is.
I don't have Alzheimer's. You believe me, don't you?
We'll get back to Ruthie starting a fire in the grill, by the way. That's a thing we're going to talk about in a second. Annie has a conversation with Ginger and apologizes. And while Ginger is talking about what has been going on and how scared she has been, we see him listening around the corner. And he finally butts in and gives his explanation for denying his early Alzheimer's diagnosis.
I didn't know I was scaring everyone. I'm sorry.
What, you just thought that it would go away if you ignored it? If you pretended it didn't exist? Wow, bro. Nice. Good job.
If I agree with the doctors that they're right, then I have to start facing up to this thing. I don't know if I can.
I get that this is hard, but you don't have to gaslight people.
No. Ginger, on the other hand, has been forgetting things.
So Ruthie has a very fun journey where she becomes a Y2K conspiracy theorist.
So you're saying that after the millennium, there won't be any toilet paper?
Yes. Stop that. Y2K is serious.
If you don't know what that is, back in 1999, people were freaking out about the year 2000 and they thought that everything was gonna break, to an apocalyptic level.
Cars will stop running, people will get trapped in elevators, credit cards won't work, it'll be bedtime.
I think you mean bedlam.
A friend of hers from school knows all about the millennium conspiracies and the Y2K stuff, and he convinces Ruthie to do all these crazy things to doomsday prep essentially. One being learning how to cook over a fire, hence why Ruthie starts a fire in the grill under Grandpa's, not supervision.
You know what I think you should do to prepare for the millennium? Stay away from Ben.
Eric sees this and obviously is a little concerned about Ruthie and her friend and what her friend's parents have been telling her friend. And of course, Eric decides to insert himself into other people's business and get involved in this. He figures out who the kid is that's been telling Ruthie all these wild conspiracies and goes to their house, meets the parents. They are doomsday prepped and answering Eric's questions as if it's duh, obviously we need to learn how to cook over a fire.
Maybe Ben picked up on some of your anxiety.
We're not anxious. We're calm.
We have CB radios, blankets, food, a water purifier, flashlights, a gas-powered generator, a large first aid kit, 2 satellite phones, plenty of cash.
And Eric handles this situation exactly how you should when confronted with very intense conspiracy theorists.
And our child knows how to cook over fire.
Okay, nice talking to you.
Yeah, don't engage. There is nothing you can do. You can have all the evidence. You can have all the answers, all the logic. There's nothing you can do. Trust me, okay? When people are this far gone, do not engage.
I thought you were going to tell him about the War of the Worlds.
Yeah, well, maybe some other time.
Episode 12, Annie needs a break, as moms do.
I need a timeout. Mommy is taking a time out.
And Annie gets one, okay? She goes on like a little beach trip and takes the dog with her, gets to escape from it all.
Sometimes you just have to get away and be by yourself so you can cry.
Don't I know it? It's a mom thing. You wouldn't understand. While on this little beach trip, Annie meets a woman named Hattie, and they become buddies, and Annie vents about her life and how hard this year has been.
My husband, he just had a heart attack in September. Mary, she got into some serious trouble.
Further reminding us that they went really hard on the continuity this season.
And then I found out that my father has Alzheimer's.
We get to see a lot of conversations between her and Hattie. They're like friends for the whole little trip that Annie's there. By the end, Annie is fully convinced that Hattie is an angel sent by God. And honestly, I'm not so sure that she isn't an angel. In one of their conversations, Hattie fully predicts exactly what Annie is thinking about and makes her a promise about her father's life that she could not possibly know.
Now you're thinking about your father. It's not his time to go. He's gonna live a long time.
That's not something that normal people do, right? Annie brings this up to Hattie. She's like, I literally thought you were an angel.
I'm no angel. Just a friend. When you think about it, what's the difference? Angels, friends, family, they're all the same thing.
What's the difference, really? A friend, an angel, friend. It's all the same, which is so Christian. I'm sorry, I'm gonna offend people when I say this, but no, don't equate people being nice and good people to like angels and God. Give the credit to the people for being good, nice people. You know what I mean? Wow, today someone helped me and it was like I met an angel. You didn't. You met a very kind person. Call it what it is, please. Stop trying to make evidence of God where it doesn't exist. Thank you.
Angels, friends, family, they're all the same thing.
I'm done. I promise I'm done. Let's get back to the whatever. Let's look more into the weird, unhealthy relationship between Simon and Dina, shall we?
You're not gonna wear that dirty shirt.
I have to. Dina's wearing her blue shirt today and she wants us to match.
In the beginning of this episode, Dina is being weirdly controlling and manipulative about Simon's clothing. She really wanted them to wear matching colors, and there's this blue shirt that he was supposed to wear, but it was dirty, so he didn't wear it, and she got very upset with him.
If you really cared about me, cared about a relationship, you would have washed the shirt yourself last night instead of waiting until this morning and expecting your mom to do it.
Sure, fair point. You want to see the effort that he's making, but girl, it's a shirt. But it's very serious to Dina, and Simon is feeling a lot of pressure from her, dictating what he's allowed to wear. All day long, the three older kids in the house, Mary, Lucy, and Simon, are waiting by the phone for their significant others to call. Lucy's waiting for Brad to call, Mary's waiting for Robbie, and Simon is waiting for Dina, and they're all like, stay off the phone so I can get a phone call.
Get off the phone. Dina can call.
Oh yeah, you need to know what to wear to bed tonight, right?
Later in the episode, Dina comes over to the house claiming that she's been trying to call Simon all day.
I've been trying to call you all day. Your phone's either been busy or no one's answered.
She is super mad at him, and then Simon acts weirdly out of character.
So you've been doing nothing all day and you didn't even bother to call me?
Yeah.
Aren't you even going to walk me to the door?
It's 3 feet away.
Earlier, Simon was like, stay off the phone, I'm waiting for a call from Dina, and he's been anxious about not hearing from Dina all day, and then she shows up and is like, I've been trying to call you.
Your phone's either been busy or no one's answered.
Which makes no sense for this episode, because all three kids were constantly by the phone, so if she really did call, someone would have picked it up. But no, she's all of a sudden really mad at Simon, and Simon is like mad at her. They're both being such jerks to each other. He calls her later to apologize.
Maybe I didn't call you because I just needed some time alone.
But you were waiting for her to call all day. Simon and Dina No longer cute to me. I want them to break up so badly.
I'll wear my blue shirt on Monday.
Promise?
Enough. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But there's more. Like I mentioned earlier, Lucy has been sitting by the phone all day waiting for Brad to call. While she's waiting, Andrew Nalos calls her. You know, the guy she went out with a few episodes ago who made her be the man of the relationship and she hated it.
Welcome to our world.
But then kissed him back at the end of it. He calls and asks her out, and instead of just saying no, that she's not interested, she makes up a lame excuse.
No, Andrew, I can't go out. My mom's out of town and I have to stay home and watch the house. The twins.
Mary asks her about this, and Lucy basically explains that Andrew is gonna be her backup in case Brad doesn't call. Brad calls, and Lucy and Brad go out on a date that night. They go to a movie theater and run into Andrew Nalos in line. He's like right behind them at the movies by himself. He immediately starts acting really possessive of Lucy.
How could you bring him here? This is where we had our first date. It's sacred ground.
This isn't where we went to the movies.
Oh, well, I'm still hurt.
You can't go here on a date. What the F?
You can't go in.
I can do whatever I want to do.
Fine, go in. See if I care.
You'll care. You'll care.
It sucks. But like, take the hint, buddy. She doesn't like you and she lied to you about it instead of just being honest. Don't keep going for her. But Andrew takes no hints. Andrew dives in headfirst. Later in the date, Brad is in the restroom and Lucy is waiting outside of the restroom for him when Andrew comes up to her and is like,
It'll never work out with you and Brad. There's no chemistry between you two.
He is just so forward and can't take no for an answer. He somehow correctly guesses that Lucy and Brad have no physical chemistry with each other.
And there's chemistry between us.
My porch. Our lips. Remember? I know you do, because I can't get that kiss out of my mind.
And he kisses Lucy to try and prove a point.
You're crazy.
Really?
And it works. Like it weirdly works. What?
Well.
When Brad comes out of the bathroom, first thing Lucy does is like, kiss me. Brad agrees, kisses Lucy. And then she breaks up with him.
You know, I think we need to take a little break from each other.
Bro, that's gotta hurt like hell, dude. Keep in mind, Brad has had a crush on Lucy for years. He's been biding his time for the right moment to ask her out. She really likes him. Things are going well. He joins Habitat for Humanity with her. She's excited to be on a date. She rejects another dude to go out with him. And then he kisses her. And she ends it immediately. Bro, that man is going to be very insecure about his kissing and his breath and all of that for years, probably. Admittedly, not one of Lucy's best, most level-headed moments. Episode 13 starts off very strong with Simon and Nigel Hamilton buying cigarettes. They're doing some kind of school project that's supposed to be a social experiment, and they decide to see how easy it would be for children to buy cigarettes. The cashier, no questions, just hands it to them. It's actually wild how easy that was for them.
Hey! Matches?
Thanks.
90s be wildin'. 90s be wildin'. Also, Simon is very proud of the fact that he's growing a mustache, so had to point that out.
You're growing a mustache? Finally, somebody noticed. How long you been growing it? About 3 months. Cool.
Simon and Nigel go back to the Camden home, and with the door wide open, they pull out the cigarettes and just like start tossing them around. And they start talking about how maybe they might want to try them, which is wild. Eric sees through the door, sees the cigarettes, and he's like, now what do I do? What the heck? Simon and Nigel decide that they should try the cigarettes because it will further their social experiment.
And then we could write a paper on what made us try smoking and how awful it is. What if we actually like it and become addicted? That'd be an A+ guaranteed.
They fully know they might get addicted, and they're like, that's great! We can get addicted! They eventually do try the cigarettes, and they get caught. Eric helps point out the fact that their project could get them in trouble, and also the person who sold them cigarettes could get like sent to jail and stuff because of their school project. Which I don't know why that would be a bad thing.
I'm afraid you're gonna have to throw out your project and start over.
Is that our punishment?
What do you think?
I don't know, like it just kind of is that. So that was weird. Shauna has officially moved to New York, and Matt and Shauna have decided to try and make it work long distance, and everyone knows this is not gonna work long distance, but Matt is determined to make it work. They call each other throughout the episode, and Matt is definitely in his toxic boyfriend era, like actually just freaks out on Shauna because she was busy.
I didn't get back here until like 4 in the morning, so I figured it was too late to call.
Yeah, that would have been a little late. Only I was waiting for you to call!
Okay, so when I was recording this, I don't think that I fully remembered how actually insane that was. Like, I just need to take a moment. That was fucking insane. We can agree that that was insane, right? Matt is a very bad boyfriend. Holy shit.
It was your turn to call. I was worried about you.
I thought we agreed that you wouldn't be jealous.
Sorry.
It's okay.
John, in order to try and like cheer Matt up and also maybe get a girlfriend for himself, invites over some girls that are like their neighbors or something to like come hang out with him and Matt. Unfortunately for John, Matt is just sulking the whole time and ends up stealing the attention from both of the girls. It ends up being actually a really hilarious dynamic, with John getting more and more frustrated that Matt, who already has a girlfriend, is getting attention from the two girls helping console him.
What is it?
It's just that Shauna used to wear jeans.
Shauna used to wear jeans.
I'm gonna kill him.
Shauna calls when the two girls are over, and one of the girls answers the phone, which obviously makes Shauna feel a little bit concerned. They get a talk for a little bit. It doesn't go so well.
He's right here. Hold on.
Hey.
Don't hey me. Who is that, and how does she know about me?
Matt and John hang out with those girls a little more, and then after they leave, Matt tries to call Shauna again, and she doesn't answer. The long distance is getting tense already. All right. Cool. Mary and Robbie are trying to do everything they possibly can to go out together, to leave the Camden home together, because they want to make out, let's be real. And they hatch a little devious plan of sorts. Robbie has a brother named Rick, who has a girlfriend, kind of? I actually don't really understand. He says he has a girlfriend, and they're like, he has a girlfriend, but then he also is like, well, we're not officially dating. It's kind of like, I don't know. It was weird.
But I already have a girlfriend. Kinda. And it's not like it's a commitment or anything.
Anyway, Robbie comes up with the idea they could do a double date. So Rick and Lucy would be there as well to chaperone Robbie and Mary. Mary immediately agrees to this without consulting Lucy first, and Rick doesn't seem too happy about it either. He's like, what did you just agree me to do? Eric and Annie very reluctantly allow this date to happen. Rick, at first, actually seems to be pretty cool and sweet, and he calls Lucy and explains, hey, I've got someone that I'm kind of seeing right now, so me and you, this can't be any more than a platonic thing between us. Lucy's like, that's great, I'm cool with that, let's do it. They all go to the movies. Mary and Robbie are making out in the theater, and then Lucy and Rick just decide to go outside. I guess the movie was boring. So Lucy and Rick leave the theater, they go outside and sit on a bench. They've been talking for a couple of minutes, maybe, like they haven't known each other that long, and they decide to make out. Yeah, platonically. Unfortunately for them, Eric has had very high anxiety about this date. Rightfully so. And, he stalks them? He goes to the theater and is like walking around outside, and he happens to see when Mary and Rick are just making out on a public bench in front of the movie theater. After the date, the boys take the girls home to the same house. 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And to make it weirder, they all kiss each other goodnight right in front of each other, like next to each other. And believe it or not, that's the second time Mary and Lucy have kissed boys next to each other. That's 2 times too many. The girls get in trouble, and later in their room, they're talking with each other about that night. Mary points out that Rick is kind of sketchy for making out with Lucy when he's been saying he has a girlfriend. Technically, he cheated on his kind of girlfriend. And Lucy admits that she feels kind of icky about that because she knows it was wrong, even though it felt good. Then we get something interesting from Mary.
I don't know why, but I don't really trust Robbie.
Wow. Why?
I don't know.
That gut feeling, trust that shit, babe. I cannot stress enough how much you need to trust that shit. So Mary has this gut feeling, which is 2nd red flag for Robbie. 3rd red flag, we get to see Robbie with his girlfriend. Yeah.
I've been waiting all night for you to get home.
I told you I was going out with my brother.
Just you and your brother?
Don't you trust me?
And they just kind of leave that there. They're like, ooh, here's a little snippet of information for you, and we're not going to talk about it for a really long time. It's 4:20 right now, and I just thought that was kind of magical. Magic number. All right, continuing. Oh, God. Oh, it's this one. Oh, God, this episode sucks. Episode 14. The main point of this episode is like bullying, I guess. There's a whole plot line about Mary being upset with Simon.
So Simon wants me to ask you why you're mad at him.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just never going to talk to him. Ever. For the rest of his life.
When I first saw this, I was like, oh, she's probably mad at him because of when she was with Simon at the pool hall and this other girl was like all over Simon and he let it happen.
Simon, am I holding the stick thingy right?
He had no consequences for that. In my mind, I was like, that's probably why Mary's mad at Simon. No. Mary is mad at Simon because when they were playing basketball together, he called her big butt, and she is holding quite the grudge over this.
Simon tried to block me, and I fell on him, and he called me big butt.
What's the big deal?
Well, apparently my butt.
Part of Mary's journey into the world of fat shaming at school, the mean girls are making really cheap, like lame fat jokes directed toward this girl, Denise.
She's probably just wearing that big ugly farmer shirt to cover up all the weight she didn't lose last summer.
This girl's fucking beautiful. Let's just get that straight.
Run away, farmer girl, run away.
Mary ends up befriending Denise because she sees that she's getting fat shamed and picked on by the mean girls, kind of like how Mary was fat shamed by Simon. So she can relate on a soul level.
So do you want to go to the Miller's party with me this weekend?
Me? You want to go with me?
I'm not Laurel.
No, you're not.
Shauna has been trying to get a hold of Matt, and he has been dodging her calls intentionally. She calls the Camden home when Matt is there talking to Annie. Annie answers the phone, and Matt is like, please don't tell Shauna I'm here. And we get this just super funny interaction.
Say I'm not here. I'm not gonna lie for you.
Fine. Don't lie.
Shauna, you just missed him.
Matt is being a baby, but that's pretty funny. Annie gives him a really good pep talk about Shauna, which Matt tries to brush off, because he's the worst right now.
All I came over for was a sandwich.
Every sandwich served in my kitchen comes with a free lecture on the side.
God, Annie's so cute. I love her. They finally get to talk. Shauna finally gets a hold of Matt.
I've been so busy with school and work and making friends that I forgot. You're stuck in Glen Oak, alone, missing me.
Shauna is like so sweet.
It's not fair, and I haven't been either.
And so kind and so good to Matt. And then right after that,
I have to go.
Call me later?
Sure.
Matt hangs up on her to hang out with...
Hey, you.
Talking to Shauna? Did you tell her hello and thanks?
Thanks for what?
Let me hang out with you.
Oh, that,
The plot thickens. Yeah, Heather's back again. If you don't know who Heather is, all you need to know is that Matt fell in love with her in season 1, and then she broke up with him, and then she got engaged. Then Matt gave Heather the impression that he was still in love with her, even though he was in love with Shauna at the time. And he just made a whole big mess because he's terrible at communicating. Showed up at Heather's wedding and like stole Heather away, then broke Heather's heart to be with Shauna. So now Heather's back. And if you thought all that stuff about this episode was pretty cool, let me tell you about the meat of this episode. Eric introduces a new family in church. So he like has them stand up Everyone's like, hi, and they sit down, right? Eric proceeds to do his regular talking, his sermon-y thing, and the kid of that family starts anxiously repeating things that Eric has said as if he has Tourette's.
Until God said, I appreciate the help.
The help.
This kid is Bobby. After Bobby had verbal tick outbursts during church, Bobby's mom comes up to Eric after church and apologizes.
Is Bobby okay?
Bobby's got ADD.
Attention deficit disorder.
That's not ADD, babe. That's not ADD. We learned that Bobby goes to school with Simon, and at school he has received the nickname of Spaz Man.
Everyone thinks he's weird. Especially Brian, the captain of the football team, calls him the Spaz Man. Well, I don't call him that.
Bobby is being bullied at school, and Eric encourages Simon to do something about it by using his classic line.
Do you remember when I told you all that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing?
Simon does end up befriending and helping Bobby out at school. He gets his macho persona back out. We haven't seen that in a minute.
Hey, look, it's Spaz Man. Hey, Spaz Man.
Simon gets a little flashback of Eric's quote that he loves so much.
All that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
And he gets, gets all macho, standing up to the 90s bully.
Beat it, Camden. This ain't none of your business.
I believe this isn't any of my business. And I'm making it my business.
And the principal is on the grounds, so nothing happens. Later, the classic 90s bully comes up again and is like, principal's not here, you can't escape this time. And Simon protects Bobby by offering a video game duel rather than a fist fight, and the bully agrees.
Of course, if you're not very good at video games, we can still just pummel each other.
No, let's play for it.
Finally, after a while of everyone thinking that the outbursts are from ADD, a guy from the congregation approaches Eric and is like, hey.
The boy who spoke out in church.
His mother says he has ADD.
Well, he may have ADD, but he's also got Tourette's.
What makes you so sure?
Because I have Tourette's.
Thank God we finally got a proper diagnosis, because the ignorance was making me want to. It's fine. Everything's fine. They figured it out. Eric approaches Bobby's parents and immediately, Dad, big ableist red flag, okay? This guy has issues.
Have you ever considered that Bobby might have Tourette's too?
I think I've heard enough. Let's go.
He is completely unwilling to listen to Eric.
No disrespect, but if the doctors haven't been able to help my son in the last 9 years, what makes you think you can do anything?
Okay, first of all, this is Eric, Magic Man Camden. He can help. Also, you've been going to doctors for 9 years and no one figured out he has Tourette's? The mom does explain that he never had his tick outbursts happen at the doctor, so they couldn't diagnose him, but still. Apparently the dad is a little bit on board with the idea that he might have ADD, but is so against Tourette's, extra ableist against Tourette's, and there's actually an explanation for this. It's wild. Eric and Bobby's mom have the bright idea to trick ableist dad into attending a Tourette's support group, I guess, where the guy from church who has Tourette's approaches ableist dad and is like, I have Tourette's and I know your son does too.
You have Tourette's. Mm-hmm. Oh, you look so
normal?
You don't look like you have Tourette's. God, fuck you. The amount of times disabled people hear that shit. You don't look like... Touchy subject for me. So Dad finally has a sit-down conversation with Eric, finally opens up about why he is so ableist, particularly toward Tourette's, and it's out of guilt and shame. His reasoning, all right? His cousin has Tourette's, and when he was a kid, he would relentlessly bully his cousin over it. And he feels so guilty and so shameful over the way he treated his cousin, he cannot possibly fathom that his son has Tourette's. He can't imagine someone else treating his son the way he treated his cousin as a kid. We'll get back to that. Reason number 2, he can't accept his son has Tourette's is because it's genetic, and he knows that if his son has it, it's because of his genes, and he just can't wrap his head around that he would give his son Tourette's. Tourette's. What? You know full well what Tourette's is. You know that there's a high possibility that that's what your kid has and that it came from you. And you know firsthand the amount of bullying that is directed toward people with Tourette's. And your solution is to go, not happening. Not my son. You're wrong. It's just ADD. What a shit dad. But of course, after having a conversation with Eric, ableist dad is suddenly just really chill and like mature and kind and understanding.
I had a real good day in school, Dad.
That's terrific. After we see the doctor, we'll all go out to dinner and you can tell me about it.
That god magic is some real stuff. Episode 15, it's Sam and David's birthday, the twins. It's their first birthday on Valentine's Day. They throw a birthday party for the twin boys, and the noises, like the clapping and the cheering at the party, sounds so unbelievably fake. I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was funny.
Great.
Remember how Heather was around the other day? So apparently Heather is back in town because she transferred here for school, which is great. I'm glad Heather's back. I love Heather as a character. I think she's awesome. But Matt and Heather are spending a lot of time together. It's getting kind of flirty, and Matt is ignoring calls from Shauna. At one point, Matt and Heather are out on a little just friends dinner outing, and they see Robbie there with his other girlfriend, with not Mary. Robbie covers his bases immediately, though, and calls Mary before Matt gets the chance and tells her, Matt's gonna tell you I was with another girl. It's my friend. My brother's girlfriend, to be specific, so don't worry about it. Not a big deal.
That's when we bumped into Matt, and Matt seemed to think I was cheating on you or something.
2 girlfriends, really? Is it worth the effort of having to constantly manipulate and gaslight people? I don't know. Couldn't be me. I'd be plenty happy if I just had one girlfriend. Anyway, after Matt and Heather spend like the whole day together and hang out and whatever, Heather takes a step back. She sets some boundaries.
I should have never told you that I'm back. This is a dangerous game we've been playing. I don't want to get hurt or hurt anyone.
Good for Heather. We love Heather. At one point during the day, I believe it's Mary who talks to Shauna and tells Shauna that Matt has been with Heather, which Matt declined to tell Shauna about. So yeah, Shauna's obviously a little bit upset, and then when Matt calls, they talk and they basically break up. The whole thing is like, we're free to see other people for the time being, but there's still like, maybe when you get back from New York, we'll be together again kind of vibe. So that's where Matt and Shauna are at this point. Right after that phone call, Shauna's roommate, which by the way, she's rooming with all men, one of her roommates comes up and just kisses her. So that's cool. Very cool. Valentine's Day is not over, my friends. No, no, no. There's a lot more drama to come on this magical day. First of all, Simon gave Dina a hickey.
It was my first time.
And your last.
So, let me see.
They come up with a really great solution to this, which is a revenge hickey that Dina gives to Simon.
I'm going to do the same thing to you because that's the only fair thing to do.
So now they both have really bad hickeys.
But you look so uncomfortable in that shirt.
I'm gonna go upstairs and, read.
I don't know why he's wearing Lucy's shirt, but you can bet he's not dressed like a girl for nothing.
Dina's parents find out about the hickey, and as a punishment, they make Dina go to the Camden family Valentine's birthday party not wearing a turtleneck so she can't hide her hickey at the party. Simon and Dina are then outed for being naughty little nodsters. What?
Say cheese.
So that happened.
I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed too.
My parents aren't going to like you anymore.
Your parents still like him? You still like him? Girl, I would have broken up with him at the freaking pool hall like 4 episodes ago.
Am I holding the stick thingy right?
In the end, Simon apologizes to Dina.
I'm sorry. I should have followed my first instinct.
Which was?
To tell you I love you.
This toxic relationship is going to continue a little longer. Annie talks to Lucy about dating and figures out that Lucy's kind of not really wanting to date anybody right now. Annie really pushes the idea of Lucy liking Andrew Nalos, which is just odd to me.
Have you heard from Andrew Nalos?
Nope. but that's okay.
I mean, everything about Andrew Naylos has been odd thus far, so can you blame me?
Brad's awfully cute.
No chemistry.
And Andrew Naylos?
Chemistry.
But Lucy's being super mature, and I really like her response.
I want more than chemistry if I'm gonna have a real relationship with a guy.
Seems like she's focused on doing what's best for herself. Go Lucy, boss babe.
Yes.
So we've established that Mary doesn't really trust Robbie, and neither do Annie and Eric, but Robbie is able to convince all three of them about this plan that he has for Mary. Since it's Valentine's Day, he tells Eric and Annie that he wants to do something really special with Mary. He says that every Valentine's Day, his whole family goes to the cafe where his parents had their first date. He wants to take Mary this year to meet his family. Annie and Eric are on board with it, and it ends up being a surprise for Mary, which she's super excited about.
I'm gonna introduce you to my parents.
What? My parents trust you? They'd trust the two of us? In a car, on Valentine's. This is unbelievable.
And Robbie was not telling the full truth. He takes Mary to the place where his parents had their first date. We learned that that place was not, in fact, a cute little cafe where his family goes every year. It was a motel.
They met at this motel on their first Valentine's Day together to make love. They're both married to other people at the time.
Very fun, yeah. And he decided it would be a really good idea to take Mary there, to tell her that it's time for them to consummate their relationship, to have sex.
I thought it'd be romantic if we had our first time here.
Yeah, he thought that just springing that on Mary last minute on Valentine's Day without talking about it ever, that she was gonna be cool with it. Or maybe that she would be too much of a people pleaser to say no. But we know Mary. Mary is a baddie who stands up for herself, and we love this about Mary.
Happy Valentine's Day.
The girl has a very healthy sense of self-worth. It's admirable. Mary then feels really stupid and feels like, oh, I should have never trusted him. The red flags were there. But babe, he was the one being deceitful, okay? All you did was trust him and love him, you know? We shouldn't have to always be looking for red flags. Unfortunately, we kind of do, but regardless, it's not your fault that you didn't prevent this. It's his fault for being deceitful, okay? Gotta establish the blame where it truly belongs. Yeah, that whole situation, big shock to the Camden family, and everybody hates Robbie now. Everybody does not like Robbie. Episode 16 is about prayer. Everything's about prayer and praying. It's very interesting the way that they do this. The whole discussion about prayer starts off when Eric gets a mysterious letter. The note comes from this kid who's asking Eric to pray for him this Sunday.
Why would he want you to pray for him?
He wrote, "Dear man who works for God."
That's it. It's just like a little story about a kid who's dealt with some struggles at home, including some domestic violence.
Nothing is ever going to change unless people like you ask God for help for people like me. I wonder why he wrote to me.
He's having this weird internal conflict with this letter. Like, why me? Why would this kid choose me? Bruh, you literally magic. Like, of course you. And Eric, because it's in his nature to meddle in other people's business, decides that it's his responsibility to track down this anonymous writer.
I hope I can find them and help them.
Eric is determined to find this kid by the deadline for the prayer, which is Sunday. Yeah, did I forget to mention that it's Saturday? So Sunday is tomorrow. And in order to find this kid, he does a couple of things, okay? He reaches out to Sergeant Michaels. He's like, help me track down who this might potentially possibly be. He also reaches out to God for help, gives an extraordinarily epic, powerful prayer.
Help.
This is a weird plot. Why does Eric feel the need to find this anonymous letter kid so bad? He does successfully find the kid. And the kid is like, bro, leave me alone. I just wanted you to pray for me. It's not that big of a deal.
Look, I don't know why you came here. I didn't ask you to come here.
Dude, can you read? All I wanted was for you to pray.
The letter...
Can't you read? And the letter asked for you to pray for me.
I thought that was pretty funny. He also tells Eric that he sent those letters to like every single religious person he could get an address for. Like he just wants a bunch of people to pray for him and children who are victims of domestic violence. That was his only request. He doesn't want any other kind of help. Okay, Eric, you gotta just let this one go.
So please, just do what I asked and pray. And get everyone you know to pray. The man upstairs will take care of all of us.
And to honor this kid, Eric ends up having a moment of silence in church to have everybody say a prayer for children who were victims of domestic violence. That is awesome. And I'm really sure that that will do something. Would you look at that? We saved the children. Thank you, God. Like I said earlier, this whole letter from this kid sparks a discussion in the Camden home about prayer. And everyone's like thinking really hard about prayer. It seems as if prayer isn't something they really do or talk about.
Mary and Simon are mad at each other. Simon's mad at Dina's parents, and Ruthie's mad at God.
How did this happen?
You. Evidently, prayer is a very controversial subject.
Christians love prayer. It's like their favorite thing. Your dad is a literal reverend. How is prayer a weird thing in your house? I don't get it.
Evidently, prayer is a very controversial subject.
Side note too, there's a point where Simon is talking to Mary and they reference Jordan. So I'm just gonna throw that in there for you for the memories, remembering the good times.
What about the other one?
What other one?
The one you both liked. The guy with the big lips, you know.
Oh. We don't speak of him.
Yeah, no, Jordan is someone I think we all want to forget. Simon and Dina are apparently having troubles because Dina's father saw her hickey. They have been forbidden from seeing one another for the time being. Simon in this episode is just praying, begging God that Dina will call him. Lucy tells Simon that's kind of silly because you don't automatically get everything that you ask for when you pray.
You don't necessarily get everything you ask for when you ask for it.
But this is Simon we're talking about, who does, in fact, get everything he ever asks for when he prays. We have a pretty consistent track record of this. Honestly, Simon is God's favorite child. Simon ends up calling Dina's house and speaks with her father, and he's like, please let me talk to Dina. And her dad's like, fine, you can talk to her. God, this drama is a little bit unbearable at times. Other notable parts of this episode, Ruthie is praying for a pony.
I asked God for a pony last night, and I'm sure I'm going to get one.
Should you break the bad news, or should I?
Well,
You're not getting a pony.
They get down to the reason why Ruthie really wants a pony, and her reason is wild.
I want it because I need it. I need that feeling of being carried by angels when I came to Earth.
Yeah, apparently Ruthie remembers what it felt like to be brought down from heaven, and she just needs to feel that rush again, and riding a horse is the only way.
Do you remember that feeling?
I'm not sure.
I do, and I think I could get it from riding a pony.
That Sunday, Annie gets her a riding lesson, and instead of going to church, Ruthie gets to worship in nature, my preferred way, by riding a horse, which, you know, that's great. I don't ride horses, to be clear. I just like nature. We learned that Mary apparently doesn't really have that much self-worth, doesn't really value herself that much because now she wants Robbie back.
Maybe he'll realize what a stupid thing he did and apologize.
There will be other guys.
But not like Robbie.
Girl, she has been saying the entire time she's dated him that something is off and she doesn't trust him. And now it's like suddenly she's wanting to just undo history. Mary's big prayer, you know, her asking her thing from God, ends up being she wants Robbie to become a better person.
If drunks can get sober and addicts can get straight, then can a bad guy just get good?
Yeah, everybody, let's pray for Robbie, that he'll change from bad to good. I'm sure it will work. I'm sure that God can really do that.
Could you pray that Robbie changes from bad to good? That he becomes a good person?
We'll try, honey.
Episode 17 is essentially Seventh Heaven knockoff version of 12 Angry Men. It's not nearly as good as the original story, but They did it, and I'm gonna talk about it. This is also this season's version of a racism episode. We gotta have one every season. Eric has jury duty, okay? Eric is on the jury. Details of the case as I understand them. There was a black man accused of being a drug dealer, hasn't been proven, who shot and killed a cop. That's the case. That's the only details that are provided to us. Apparently the evidence is pretty strong, like the gun is definitively linked to this man who killed the cop. Everyone in the jury votes not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, except for Eric. Eric's like, he's guilty. The guy's guilty. But wasn't the whole thing with the original, like, 12 Angry Men story, the fact that the details of the case were not so cut and dry, like there were other explanations for things, like seemed obvious but had convoluted clues and secrets underneath. It made it very compelling and interesting. That's what I remember that story being about. No, we just have this, like, straight up guy killed a cop, and everyone's like, not guilty. Everyone's really frustrated for Eric being the only one voting guilty. Apparently, in the somewhat recent past, a couple of cops from one of this local area's police precincts got arrested for being bad cops, you know, dirty cops, planting evidence, that kind of stuff, which has completely lowered trust of the police in the area, along with like historically racist police actions that have happened to the people on this jury. The main assumption that everyone has come to is that the cops in this area are dirty, so there's no way that this guy actually killed the cop. They think, literally they think, that the cops stole the gun from the guy a few days before and then staged it and killed a cop to make it look like that guy did it, even though there's like a lot of evidence that that's the guy who did it.
The police stole the defendant's gun a week before the shooting.
That's what the defendant said. But why would the police do that?
And so Eric spends the episode convincing people that, like, yes, even though there are problems in our justice system, even though there are issues with racism and problems in society, this is not that problem. I think the whole point was like trying to build a nuance around like anger toward the police, but I don't really know. It was just kind of weird. And of course, Eric, man of law and order and man of God, is absolutely, without a doubt, completely correct on this situation, even though everyone else had reason to believe otherwise.
Are you telling me that you're all voting not guilty because of a police corruption scandal?
Dina and Simon are having more stupid drama in this episode where they finally get to hang out together for the first time since Dina got in trouble for getting a hickey. They are playing the board game, The Game of Life, at the Camden home, and it is just so uncomfortably contentious. Like, Dina is being really weird and passive-aggressive with Simon, making him feel really dumb. And they're like fighting over where she put her little husband game piece in the little life car. It's like the stupidest thing. And they're fighting over this the whole time. And then finally in the end, Dina's like, yeah, I'm punishing you. Yeah, I'm being passive-aggressive.
Come on, what's the matter with you?
What's the matter with me? I'll tell you what the matter with me is.
She is very upset with Simon because of the hickey.
And because you bit me, I've been stuck in my house for weeks and subjected to endless discussions about teenagers and sex.
But not just because of the hickey, but because he apologized to Dina's father and he apologized to his parents, but he never apologized to Dina.
I'm sorry.
Do you realize that's the first time you've apologized to me?
And Simon's all cute about it. He's like, oh, I thought we were just like partners in crime. I didn't realize that you were feeling this way. Whatever. He's so freaking sweet. And Dina's being so dramatic about it. And you know what's even worse? I've got footage.
I'm sorry. I should have followed my first instinct.
Which was?
To tell you I love you.
When Simon said sorry to her.
I'm sorry.
I've got that. I've got footage of that happening, Dina.
I'm sorry.
Do you realize that's the first time you've apologized to me?
Here's what I think is going on. From everything that we've seen so far of Simon and Dina, Simon wants to do everything he can to please Dina, and Dina just has really high expectations and weird demands from him without communicating properly any of these things. But then also there's the weird part where he was like kind of almost cheating on her.
Am I holding this stick thingy?
The only really positive moment that I remember is when Simon apologizes to Dina and tells her that he loves her. Otherwise, it's been awful. Lucy and Mary this episode are trying to find an excuse to get out of the house so they can maybe potentially run into the boys that they have crushes on. We'll get back to that. They initially approach Annie asking for some money so that they can go out and like get a cappuccino. Annie says, no, absolutely not, because you have already spent the advance that you already had on your allowance, so you don't have money.
I'd really love to know how you two can spend so much money.
Do you know how much shampoo costs?
But shampoo is so expensive.
I know how much the family shampoo costs, and you're welcome to use that.
And then they're like, why don't you just buy our shampoo for the family? And Annie says,
well, I could do that, but then I'd have to spend about $30 a week on shampoo, and I don't have $30 a week to spend on shampoo.
$30 a week. Is this a $30 shampoo bottle and their whole family would use it in a week? Because that's the only explanation. That's $120 a month on shampoo. Back to the girls wanting to see their boys. Mary is hoping that if she goes out, she may potentially maybe run into Robbie. Lucy has now established for herself that she is in fact crushing really hard on Andrew Nalos. Reminder, this is the boy that she had the worst date ever with, but now she's like, Andrew. They also refer to Andrew as Lucy's old boyfriend.
But what if we just go down to the promenade and walk around? I mean, it doesn't cost anything to stalk Lucy's old boyfriend.
Which old boyfriend?
Andrew Nalos. I was just hoping to run into him.
They went on one date. Also, Mary lightly taps Lucy's face.
And Mary was hoping to run into Robbie.
Oh, I didn't mean to!
And she gets like a huge bruise as if Mary decked her. And the bruise is in the wrong location, which is hilarious. And Mary ultimately decides that she does not want Robbie anymore because he's a bad guy. She doesn't need him. She's over it. We'll see about that. Episode 18, we open up watching Mary play basketball with the Lakers and winning. Mary's having like a really random dream sequence about that being a pro baller, if you will. And after Mary wakes up, she has this dialogue with Lucy that is just so cheesy and so dumb.
Were you dreaming about Robbie?
No, better than that. I was playing with the pros. Oh, it was so real.
Mary is absolutely 10 billion% convinced that she is going to be a pro baller because of this dream.
I think my dream is about to come true.
The dream you just had?
Yeah. The dream I have always had.
To complement her dream, she has a lot of confirmation bias happen to her that day when the basketball coach calls her that morning and is like, hey, meet up with me after school, bring your practice clothes, something really special. You'll see.
Just be ready to work out. I think I've got something you might be interested in. I'll see you at school.
Why wouldn't you just tell her what's going on? That's so dumb. I don't know about this coach, man. Also, how does he still have a job? After school, Mary finds out what the mysterious thing the coach wanted her to do is. He wanted her to help coach a team for the Special Olympics. Really cool, but also a really weird commitment to like throw on someone without prior warning.
I think I've got something you might be interested in.
That's something to be plenty excited about on its own. You don't need to make it a surprise. One of the girls on the team really admires Mary and ends up asking Mary to play basketball. This girl named Molly, she's super sweet, super cute, loves Mary. She tells Mary that Mary is her hero.
Mary?
Yeah?
You're my hero.
No, I'm not. Believe me.
No. I'm nobody's hero. When Molly's dad brings Molly over, he's like, hey, why did you like shut down my daughter and tell her that you couldn't be her hero?
It's not that I don't want to be your hero. I don't deserve to be your hero.
I'm just not the kind of person that could be a hero because I vandalized a gym this year.
It's a long story. I haven't had a great year.
I'm aware of that. Maybe you're being a little too hard on yourself.
Well, how small is this town?
I'm aware of that.
Turns out Molly's dad is a scout for the NBA. Just by happenstance. And so Mary gets it in her head that this is the reason why she had her dream. And because Molly's dad is a scout, that means that he's actually secretly scouting her to be in the WNBA. Like, she thinks that he wants her to play pro ball with no evidence. She just makes this up in her head and runs with it. And then Molly's dad is talking about it with Eric and Annie and is like, uh-oh, I think Molly messed up and like gave Mary the wrong impression. And now Molly needs to fix this problem. problem. Molly apologizes to Mary for giving her the wrong impression that her dad was interested in scouting her for pro ball. And Mary's like, oh no, you didn't give me that impression. I did that myself. I was on one today, okay? I really thought that my dream was a prophecy. She has had prophetic dreams in the past that did come true, so I don't blame her. Scout dad guy tells Mary that she has potential and that she needs to get herself on a good college team and whatnot. And it's like, how is Mary supposed to just get on a college team? She has not been playing basketball this year. She has no prospects for college. She has not been applying to any colleges. The one college she had a scholarship to cut her off. So I don't know what the whole point of that was, other than to send Mary on an emotional roller coaster. All this conversation about Mary wanting to be a pro baller sparks a conversation between Eric and Simon about what Simon wants to do when he's older. Simon gives a non-answer and also an answer that hurts Eric's feelings very, very much.
What is it you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know. I'm not a minister.
He is way more insecure than I thought he would be.
Evidently, he knows what he doesn't want to be.
Oh, come on.
He's so butthurt about Simon not wanting to be a minister that he plans a whole day with Simon, checks him out of school, takes him to a movie, all for the purpose of trying to tell Simon why he became a minister. Not even to convince Simon to become a minister, but more to reassure himself that he made the right decision. They go to a movie, they show up late, and it's a movie they've already seen, and Eric still insists they go watch it because bonding, I guess. After the movie, Eric immediately starts trying to jump into lecture mode with Simon.
Reminds me of when I was trying to decide what I wanted to be in life, and
Hey, look, the flea market's open.
Then he takes Simon out to lunch and tells him the story of how he became a minister. Eric's dad, Colonel, was very adamant that Eric needed to serve in the military in some capacity. There was an active draft happening during Eric's youth, which he had to register for. He made a deal with God that if he got a number that was supposed to be drafted, that meant that he was meant to be in the military like his dad wanted. But if God gave him a number that was not drafted, that meant that God wanted him to be a minister. Big life decision to make on a 50-50 chance. Telling Simon this story does not go the way that Eric was hoping because Simon brings up some pretty good points here.
Maybe that high draft number didn't mean anything, and you're really not supposed to be a minister. I mean, maybe it just meant that you lucked out and you didn't have to sign up.
Yeah, you based your entire life off of luck, and this sends Eric spiraling even further down into a dark depression. Later, Annie tells Simon that what he did today hurt his dad's feelings really badly. Eric is that insecure that someone suggesting that maybe he was just lucky caused him to question all of his life's decisions. So Simon has to be the mature, secure one in this relationship and finds Eric pouting in an outdoor playhouse.
The world would be much worse off if you had gone to Canada. I'm gonna let that whole draft dodger thing drop.
Thanks.
This grown man with 7 children is literally sulking in a playhouse. How did we get here? In episode 19, a random girl that Eric doesn't know shows up at the church, seeming like she wants to talk to him, but is really hesitant to go in and talk to him. Eric takes this opportunity to just be a little silly and try and make her feel comfortable by talking about how much he likes to talk.
And if you would like to talk, I'd be happy to talk. Talking is one of my favorite things. Some days all I do is talk. Talk, talk, talk.
Me too, brother.
Are you here every day?
I'm here anytime anyone needs me.
Say tomorrow you would be here?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll feel more like talking to you then.
She just leaves, vanishes like a vampire. We see this girl again later, sitting out on a bench. A random guy says hi to her, and she starts freaking out on this guy.
Hey,
Get away! Just get away from me now!
Hey! It just so happens that Eric's best friend, Sergeant Michaels, is in the store right behind where this interaction happens. Now Eric is able to get her information and know who she is. It's a whole thing. Ultimately, all the interactions around this girl and introducing her and her mysterious backstory is just really weird.
Is everything okay?
Yes, everything is okay. I just don't feel like talking to anyone.
Just odd, you know? Finally, eventually, she does end up talking to Eric and tells him her story. It's actually really, really sad. This girl was molested by her mother's now ex-boyfriend, and her mom, for some reason, has been really standoffish about the situation and has been refusing to talk about what happened with her daughter. They did all the right things. They reported the guy to the police. They had this girl go to counseling, therapy, but ultimately the mom still would not even let the daughter talk about her experience with being molested, which is really awful. So they go talk to Eric, and Eric is able to use his magic powers to be like, hey, that's dumb. Let your daughter talk about this. Things are handled in a healthy and good way, and the message that's being portrayed is really good. So often, especially in hyper-religious communities, women are victim blamed for getting molested. So it was very refreshing to see how adamant Eric was that this was not her fault and that she deserves to be heard and respected as a victim. Very good message. Loved that. This whole experience with the random mysterious girl that shows up inspires Eric and Annie to start talking to their children. No, like actually, they're like, oh, we should probably start talking to our kids. And it starts with them asking how their day was. And when they do, all the kids are immediately like, who fucked up? You gotta come clean.
Would you tell them who's in trouble?
We don't know. Who's in trouble?
Someone is, because you asked us how our day at school was today.
This is how supposedly unfamiliar they are with their parents asking about their day. Even with 7 children, I wouldn't have expected that. Did you think we were done with Hank and Julie drama? Because we're not. Their relationship is such a roller coaster, and this is the weirdest loop-de-loop of the whole thing. Hank goes up to Matt and is like, Matt, gotta talk to you about something super important.
You gonna be around later? Because I need to talk to you.
Julie shows up and is like, Matt, where the heck is Hank? I've been trying to talk to him for days. He's not talking to me, and I'm going to talk to him right freaking now. And Matt's like, oh, well, he just said he wanted to talk to me, and he left. And Julie's all like, my husband will talk to you, but not to me?
That's just great. Maybe he should have married you.
Hank and Julie are the most insane couple, I swear to God. Since Hank has been avoiding Julie, and Julie finds out that Hank wanted to talk to Matt and not to her, Julie kicks him out of the house. Hank then shows up at Matt and John's apartment and is like, it's your fault I got kicked out of the house, and now you have to house me, all right? Julie calls Matt's apartment and talks to Matt, and now is getting Matt involved in their relationship drama.
Could you find out for me, please?
I think it would be better if Hank told you.
But if he's not going to tell me, whatever this bad news is, it might be best coming from you.
Guess what Hank's big crazy secret is?
So you talked?
Yes, and I told her.
Yeah? What'd you tell her?
Hank's Jewish.
I never told her.
He's Jewish.
Wait a second. Does this have anything to do with the fact that your parents are flying in next week?
He's Jewish. His parents very Jewish. They don't know that Julie isn't Jewish.
You did tell them that I'm not Jewish, didn't you?
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't gotten around to it.
And I have so many issues with this. I mean, not that he's Jewish. That's fine. It's just like, how did you not? This is stuff that you probably should have talked about before getting married. Like, what if Julie was super anti-Semitic and you just had no idea? But that was it. Hank was Jewish. That was the whole reason for the entire drama and him getting kicked out of the house because he was too nervous to tell his wife that he was Jewish. Also, Eric and Annie already knew that Hank was Jewish.
Well, here's something you don't know about Hank. He's Jewish.
I know that.
And it wasn't even a big deal for anyone at all. What a storyline, you know? What a storyline. All right, I need something to write about. We haven't really talked about the fact that Hank is Jewish yet. How do I make this Way too dramatic. Episode 20. All right, a few episodes ago, Matt upgraded his job from being in the cafeteria at the hospital to being an orderly at the hospital, which is like a hospital assistant, if you will. There's this new girl who also just got hired as an orderly, and Matt is like helping to train her. And for some reason, this girl is hell-bent on destroying his career. I don't know what her fucking problem is. We never get an explanation as to what her fucking problem is, but she be wildin'. Every opportunity she gets just makes up shit about him, that he's like been angry and erratic and that people are scared of him, that he's doing drugs, just cause she can.
I'd be careful if I were you. He has a really nasty temper.
Alongside this storyline, John Hamilton, who also has a job at the hospital, has been having a major internal beef with a local politician. This politician guy has been quoting Harriet Tubman and Martin Luther King and essentially appropriating the black person's experience into his political speeches. And John is fired up about this. He is so mad. At the hospital, there's a part where Annie had asked John to give Matt money for lunch or something, so John gives Matt $10. And of course, the weird girl that's out to get Matt for no reason sees this exchange and accuses them of dealing drugs with each other and being on drugs.
I knew it. Drugs. He's on drugs. That's why he acts so crazy.
And then later at the hospital, John sees that politician on TV and throws a remote at the TV because he is so angry.
I have a dream.
You do not have a dream!
And he just gets fired on the spot because of it and because of the drug accusation. Matt doesn't get fired though, even though he was equally accused of doing drugs, so that's kind of messed up. Matt's boss at the hospital calls him in, talks to him, and is like, yo, so I've been hearing some stuff about you. And he's like, oh, well, that's not true. And also, John was just mad at this politician. And luckily, his boss also happens to be a black woman and fully understands what's going on with this politician and is like, oh, okay, well, he can come back. He's hired again. Why did Matt get a conversation and the chance to explain himself before he got fired, whereas John didn't? Like, what the fuck? And also, the girl who was spreading rumors about Matt got 0 consequences. Additionally, his boss just takes him at his word and is like, oh, okay, I believe you. Yeah, you're fine. So what was the point of all that? There was no point. There was no point. Also, in episode 20, Eric gets approached by the press, the newspaper. Their local newspaper does like a family section in the Sunday paper, and Eric has been selected as the family man. The Camden family is going to be featured in this newspaper. Eric is stoked about it. He's like, great, this is going to be press for the church. We're going to bring people to God because people are going to see how awesome me and my family are. All the kids are immediately skeptical, like, actually, we probably shouldn't do this because our family is insane. And Eric's like, okay, don't talk about insane things. And the kids are like, yeah, no, that's true. All the kids approach each other and like, you can't talk about this about me or this about me or this about me, giving us another unnecessary recap of everything that's happened this entire season.
I thought of something else. And don't tell this guy I got suspended from school for giving the finger.
During every kid's interview, they all reveal their own stuff that they did wrong. And so everything that they were trying to keep secret, they just blab to the press without a second thought. And the article that gets written about them is wild. Basically, they published a self-expose, and the pictures that they got for this article are insane. They got a photo of Mary with a basketball under her shirt looking like she's pregnant, a photo of Simon smoking, Lucy laying down exposing her cleavage in a very suggestive way, and this got published in the newspaper? That has to be illegal. Like, how did they get those pictures, first of all?
Thanks.
And who in their right mind thought it would be a good idea to post an overly sexual photograph of a non-consenting 16-year-old? Well, this leads to Eric giving a sermon in church after everybody has read his family dirt in the newspaper that morning and just saying, yep, my family's not perfect, but I love them.
Anyone here get the morning paper?
Episode 21, first half of the season finale. We're almost there. Holy shit. Shauna comes back in town for the summer, I guess, to work and to get back together with Matt. And they're like officially back together as soon as she's back in town, which makes no sense because they have basically been ignoring each other for months. And Matt is hanging out with Heather again. He's hanging out with Heather, having a nice time, and he's super hesitant to go spend time with Shauna. Like, he does not want to be around her, but they go out. While Shauna's out with Matt, they run into Brett. This guy, Brett, the guy that was Shauna's roommate who suddenly kissed her immediately after she and Matt broke up, that guy, yeah, he shows up in town. We learn a little bit later via conversation between Brett and Shauna that they did in fact start dating in New York. But when Shauna left New York, she broke it off and told him she's in love with Matt and wants to be with Matt. Things were done between them.
I told you the day I left that it was over between us.
But Brett is really into boundary pushing.
I love you. And I know you love me.
I love Matt, so you might as well just go home.
Well, I'm not as stupid as Matt. I'm here to stay.
Later, Matt is talking to John about Brett, and John notices that Matt seems weirdly detached from the situation, almost like he doesn't really care. And then John says something that just gave me flashbacks to season 3.
Are you jealous?
No. But shouldn't I be?
You're not jealous of Brett because you're not in love with Shauna anymore.
Like the exact same thing they did.
Do you want me to tell you who you're in love with? Heather.
Can we think of other things to do for a plot line other than a weird love triangle between Matt and Shauna and Heather? Next season finale, I would love to see a different plot line. That would be awesome. Of course, then right on cue, Heather comes over and talks to Matt, admitting her undying love for him.
I'm in love with you.
Why now?
I just thought that you should know.
I can't do this right now. I can't.
2 hours later.
Matt decides that he is in love with Heather and he needs to break up with Shauna. We'll see how that pans out in the next episode, I guess. There's also this dumb drama between Simon and Dina because of course there is. Okay, at this point, I think we can objectively say that Dina is the problem. Dina's got issues, man. First, Simon hears from someone that they saw Dina hugging another dude.
I was at the mall the other night and I saw Dina with another guy.
It was probably your brother back from school.
The way they were hugging wasn't really brotherly.
Simon approaches Dina and is like, "Were you with some other dude?" And she was like, "Oh no, that was my cousin."
That wasn't a guy. It was my cousin, Robert.
To be clear, this was, in fact, Dina's cousin. They make it seem like she's lying. It was her cousin. But then she pulls this out of nowhere.
Well, I knew there had to be some kind of logical explanation as to why you were hugging some strange guy at the mall.
I think we should see other people.
Not only does she want to see other people, she like breaks up with Simon because.
It's just over.
Wait a second. You just said that you want to see other people, and now you're saying we're over?
The sooner you move on, the better.
Simon is understandably really confused about this situation because it just kind of comes out of nowhere and he doesn't really believe that Dina actually wants to see other people. So he calls this girl Cynthia, the town gossip, the little gossip girl.
You know basically everything that goes on in the 8th grade, and I need some information.
Cynthia ends up talking to Dina, and Dina has Cynthia lie to Simon, telling him that Dina is cheating on him, seeing another guy.
Is Dina seeing someone?
She is. I think Dina wants you to find someone else too.
Move on.
And Simon is still not convinced. He's like, nah, something's fishy here, which he's right. Something is fishy here.
You should tell Simon the truth.
I think it's better this way. This way he'll hate me.
Simon gets Dina a promise ring, like a gift for her. He's giving it to her early because she's breaking up with him. And he's like, well, I still want you to have this gift I got for you. And then she just starts acting even more weird. She rejects the gift.
In light of what's happened between us, I can't accept it.
Rude. And then is like, I actually don't want to see other people. Like, she's just acting so weird.
I can't take the ring. And I don't want to see other people.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, I've got to go.
What is going on with Dina? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out in the next episode. At the beginning of episode 21, Robbie comes to church and walks in with some other dude that Lucy finds hot. So there's that. Mary's excited out of her mind that Robbie showed up to church. Ew. Robbie apologizes to Mary and talks to her about how he's like been going to church regularly for her, not for himself, for her.
I have to admit that I don't just go for God. Since church is such a big part of who you are, going every Sunday makes me feel close to you.
And that he's changed. He's becoming a better man.
You haven't seen me for the last 3 months because I've been busy turning my life around. I'm a better person now and I owe it all to you.
Girl, the red flags are pouring from the sky. You need to run away from this man. So yeah, anyway, Robbie's all like, I've changed. And Mary just believes him immediately. She's like, yes, I believe you. You would never lie to me. Again, not only are Mary and Robbie back together, we also learned that Mary is not planning on going to college. She has not signed up for anything. She just doesn't want to do it. Because of this, Eric and Annie are kind of like, okay, you don't have to go to college, but girl, if you're gonna live in our house, you need to get a job. You gotta be working, you gotta be paying some bills. This idea that Mary needs to actually be a responsible human being after she graduates high school, she's not really vibing with that, and she hatches a plan with Robbie.
Great news. I talked to Robbie after school. We talked about everything. Jobs, bills, rent. We think we have a solution.
They're gonna move in together while he's going to college and she's gonna get a job or something. Robbie won't charge her rent at first, so I guess it's like their solution so she doesn't have to pay rent to her parents, which is a great idea, Mary. Awesome idea. No, that's a great idea.
He's a good guy, and I want you to know that we are just gonna be roommates and nothing else, I swear.
Mary and Robbie go out on a date, and whilst out on the town, we see Robbie's other girlfriend, who's now his ex apparently. We get some additional information about this mysterious other woman. Apparently she and Robbie have been dating for 3 years, and he just broke up with her last week. She approaches Robbie in private and, like a supervillain, reveals her entire plan to him about how she's going to sabotage.
I'm gonna tell her all about us, the three of us, so she'll know exactly what kind of guy she's involved with.
Which, of course, only prompts Robbie to warn Mary that he has a crazy ex-girlfriend who's gonna say all this crazy stuff about him, which Mary believes.
Remember when Robbie showed up at the church with his friend that Lucy thought was super hot? Yeah, we're gonna go back to that.
Robbie's friend that came with him apparently is another brother, not Rick. This is a brother named Ronald. Robbie, Rick, and Ronald, oh my god. Those parents really knew the aesthetic they wanted for their children. Ronald and Lucy start flirting, and apparently Andrew Nalos also goes to church with them.
I'm Andrew, Lucy's boyfriend.
He's not my boyfriend.
I should go find Robbie.
So Andrew Nalos is now there harassing Lucy again, being like, we're meant to be together, Lucy, don't you remember? And Lucy is still like, oh my god, go away, leave me alone, don't talk to me.
Lucy.
Not now, Andrew.
They also mention how Lucy and Andrew dated for like a week, which did not happen. They then say they went on like 3 dates, which also did not happen.
We already tried and it didn't work.
3 times. 3 dates. That's not trying.
Goodbye, Andrew.
What happened is she went on one date that she said was like the worst date ever, and then she went on a date with Brad. Andrew hijacked the date and kissed her, causing her to break up with Brad, but then she still didn't like him, and then she did like him, and now she doesn't like him again, and it's just, what? You know? Ronald and Lucy are flirting, and he's like asking her out in front of Andrew.
Maybe we can go to the movies sometime. I wouldn't count on it. She's very busy. Then I'll call you.
I'd like that.
Like, she's being awful to him.
Lucy.
Not now, Andrew.
Lucy.
Not now, Andrew.
And then later, Ronald is over at the house.
So what's with that little weird guy at church?
Andrew and I went on a couple of dates, but it didn't work out, and he's having a hard time dealing with that.
They just go right into making out, and Eric walks in on them and gives up and walks away. Additionally, he's in college and he's visiting for the summer, so he's older than Robbie. Do I need to remind you Lucy is 16? What is wrong with this family? What is wrong with them? Later at school, Andrew approaches Lucy in the hallway, basically gives her an ultimatum of like, you know we're meant to be together. I know we're meant to be together.
You won't let yourself like me because you know that we're perfect for each other, and that scares you.
If you don't want me, I'm walking away right now.
And if you don't stop me, I'll never bother you again.
Andrew.
Yes.
Lucy doesn't go for it, and I really hope so much for Andrew, who seems like a sweet dude, okay? He seems like a nice guy. Run away from Lucy, man. Episode 22, second half of the season finale. Let's freaking go. Starting with Simon and Dina. My favorite couple. Cynthia is having a hard time with the fact that she lied to Simon about Dina being with another man, so she comes clean to Simon and tells him that Dina is not cheating. She's moving across the country. And it's really weird that Dina would prefer he thinks she's cheating than that she's moving. Simon confronts Dina and she's like, yeah, it's true. My mom got a better job and so we're moving for my mom's job. And then we learn even more information after Eric gets involved, and apparently her parents are actually getting divorced as well. So it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess for Dina. But her logic in lying to Simon and like trying to break up with him is that she didn't want him to hold out hope that they could possibly still be together if they were long distance. But that's kind of his choice to make, babe. You can't just control that. Simon ends up giving Dina the promise ring and they decide they're gonna do the long distance thing. Eric and Annie say that Dina can like stay at the house and visit whenever she wants. And Simon very confidently says he's never gonna find another girlfriend like Dina. Boy, I don't know if you remember this, Simon, but your relationship was entirely orchestrated by Laura, so you didn't even really find Dina as a girlfriend. Laura did it for you.
So you want to stay together?
I'm never gonna find anyone like you. I don't want to look.
Everyone is trying to force Lucy to be in love with Andrew.
Ronald called. Can I meet him at the pool hall for a soda?
Ronald, huh? Well, I don't want to stand in the way of true love.
I don't like Andrew.
So you keep telling me.
Everyone is like, Lucy, you love Andrew. Obviously, you need to be with Andrew Nalos, the one guy that you obviously don't like at all. Well, Lucy goes out with Ronald. While they're out at the pool hall, she sees Andrew out, seemingly on a date with another girl. She gets mega possessive and jealous and decides to just stalk him the rest of the night, which then causes Ronald to lose interest and break it off with Lucy because obviously she's now obsessively stalking another guy. Lucy and Andrew talk. She finally admits to herself and to him that she does like him and she does want to be with him. They decide then and there that they are in like with each other.
I like you and I want to get to know you better, and maybe someday I might really like you.
What about love?
Don't push it.
And that they need to kiss more and talk less.
Andrew, the kissing part is not going to be the problem in our relationship.
Maybe if we kissed more, talked less.
Maybe.
So healthy, and I love that for you guys. Mary, though. Can't quite put my finger on it, but something is wrong with Mary.
You tell your parents about us?
I didn't tell them everything.
Let's not start our lives together by lying to your parents.
Yeah, so Mary neglected to tell her parents that moving in with Robbie also meant that she is engaged to him and they are to be wed, to be married. Mary doesn't actually want to be married to Robbie. She's trying to figure out what she feels. She kind of had a whirlwind of emotions when he proposed. Cheryl, Robbie's ex-girlfriend, does in fact get a hold of Mary, and Mary learns that he was two-timing both of them. Ultimately, she does decide to break it off with Robbie, thank God. She breaks off the engagement, but not the relationship fully. She's still maybe giving him a chance, and I do not know how I feel about that. And of course, the moment we've all been desperately waiting for, the love triangle.
Shauna's trying so hard to keep us together, even though she must know in her heart, like I know, it's totally over between us.
John, very good for Matt. He is a very good friend to Matt. As Matt is panicking, frantically trying to figure out what to do about Shauna and Heather, John just keeps repeating the same thing over and over, and it's wise words.
Break up with Shauna.
I don't want to hurt Shauna, but I love Heather.
Break up with Shauna. Break up with Shauna.
He ends up kicking Matt out of the house until he breaks up with Shauna, telling him he's not allowed to come back until the deed has been done.
Hey, the chain's on.
Did you break up with Shauna?
No.
Then come back when you have.
We see Shauna with Brett being super pushy.
Go home, okay? Nothing is going to happen between you and me. I love Matt.
Who do you love?
Matt!
And her giving into it, like, oh, she's actually in love with Brett or whatever, and then they start making out or whatever.
I love Matt.
Shauna clearly doesn't know what she wants because she's making out with Brett while saying, I love Matt. over and over, so
Who did you say you love?
Shut up. Matt shows up to break up with Shauna and then catches Shauna in the act of doing things with Brett. What things she was doing, I don't know, but her shirt was off. At the very least, things. They were doing things. And as Shauna gets caught by Matt, she just tries to gaslight him.
Why is your shirt on backwards?
Is it on backwards? Brett, what are you doing here?
Yeah, Brett, what are you doing here? And why is Brett's shirt unbuttoned?
Maybe he's hot.
Matt's like, it's whatever. I'm actually in love with Heather, so I'm not mad. It's fine. You be with Brett. And somehow Shauna knew that he was in love with Heather as well, so I guess nobody actually cares and we're fine. Everything's fine. Matt then goes and talks to Heather all night long, where apparently they decide to elope. And then they do. They go to somewhere to elope.
We love each other. This is what you do when you're in love and you know it's forever.
Because that's what you do when you're in love, is you kind of date for a few months, break up when she moves across the country, and then you travel across the country to make sure it was really a breakup, and she was like, yes, and then she comes back engaged, and then you break up her wedding, tell her that you don't actually love her, date someone else for 2 years apparently, then show up randomly back in town, reintroduce yourself to him, and then he's like, oh yeah, actually, wait, I am still in love with you, let me break up with my other girlfriend, and as soon as we're back together, let's get married. That is what you do when you're in love. That's the end of the episode. That's the end of the season, is Matt in a chapel with Heather. If they bait and switch me again, like if this marriage does not work out, there will be hands thrown. Well, 7th Heaven Season 4. Thank you so much for watching this video. One last thing I have to tell you, really important for you to know before you leave. If you subscribe to my channel, you will become sexy and hot. Sexy and hot, which are 2 different things. If you want that, you know, to be sexy and to be hot and to have your life changed forever or whatever, like, subscribe. Okay, thank you.
Well, there is your love of wood to consider.
Well, I can't help it. I just love it.
If you're curious, yes, I do plan to continue this series. My goal is to get through all of 11 seasons at some point, okay? I can't do it all at once because look, for you, this is a curated couple hours of 7th Heaven. For me, this is an entire month of my life where the only thing that I think about is 7th Heaven. Additionally, for some reason, every time I've started working on a 7th Heaven video, just the most wild things start happening in my life. So I don't know if I'm cursed or what, but I'll have to keep making them to test the theory that 7th Heaven is in fact cursing my life. I guess I'll let you know if that is the case. Also, if you got all the way to this far in the video and you also enjoyed your experience watching this video, you should absolutely please leave me a like on the video because that would make me feel good. Thank you again so very much for watching this video. I appreciate you and your support. You're awesome. Thank you.
So go climb a tree.
Bye!
Don't question the Zen master.